Chapter 1288. 1288 who will be the underling?
Get down.
Little Yuan. The two middle-aged men saw Wang Xian standing there with a smile on his face. Seeing that his heaven's favorite was still taming the first ferocious beast, one of the middle-aged men couldn't help but call out. Uncle? Young master, he was slightly stunned when he heard the middle-aged man's voice. He opened his eyes. However, when he opened his eyes and saw Wang Xian standing in front of him and more than 10 fairy birds beside him, he revealed a shocked expression. Slowly, his expression began to change drastically. Young brother, your beast taming technique should be inherited from Baisun, right? A middle-aged man looked at Wang Xian and asked in a deep voice. That's right. By chance, I obtained the heritage of the Baisun master. Wang Xian nodded and did not hide anything. His beast taming technique indeed originated from Baisun. However, his current beast taming ability was definitely not something that the Baisun master could compare to. Baisun Elder? When young master he heard this name, he was slightly stunned. He thought of some of Baisun's deeds. Baisun Elder, you actually obtained Baisun Elder's inheritance. The essence of Baisun Elder's beast taming technique is to dominate and become the king of fierce beasts. With the suppression of the bloodline, this method of taming low-level fierce beasts is very fast. However, he frowned and didn't say anything else. However, according to the records, Old Man Baisun's beast taming technique wasn't that fast. However, the records were just records. Although Old Man Baisun's beast taming technique is powerful, there is a drawback. Ferocious beasts are easily betrayed. When young master he saw the lark behind Wang Xian, he snorted coldly and said unwillingly, "That's right. You won against young master, he only, because your beast taming skills are different. The strength of a beast tamer still depends on one's own strength. All spells are secondary. The most important thing is still one's strength. There's nothing to compare with a beast taming skill." The young men from the Yen clan saw that young master he was in a bad mood and quickly tried to help him out. HMPH, that's right. Strength comes first. Young master, he found an excuse for himself and said forcefully. Wang Xian was a little speechless. He shrugged his shoulders and said, "Whatever you say." When young master he saw Wang Xian's expression, he looked a little embarrassed. This made him feel a little humiliated. He, who was competitive, clenched his fists tightly. Wang Xian ignored him and walked to the side with a dozen dodo birds. "I want to compete with you in terms of strength." Suddenly, young master he's figure appeared in front of him. He stared at him and spoke with full of fighting spirit. Wang Xian looked at him and frowned slowly. "Compete in strength? You are not my match." "Not your match? We have not fought before. How can we not be your match? Kid, don't be arrogant." He Xiao glared at Wang Xian with a gloomy face. Seeing the competitive look of their own heaven's favorites, the two middle-aged men shook their heads slowly. However, they didn't stop him. This time, they brought him out because the clan leader wanted to bring him to the tomb of the humans and demons for training. The tomb of the humans and demons was considered a relatively bloody and cruel place. Moreover, the danger level of the tomb of the humans and demons wasn't very high in the eyes of the He clan. The clan leader was obviously aware of the deficiency in He Yuan's state of mind and asked him to come here to gain some experience. "Pretty boy, you have provoked me time and time again. Do you want me to accept the challenge in vain? What if you lose?" Wang Xian narrowed his eyes slightly and said to He Yuan, "I lose. How is this possible? It's impossible for me to lose." When He Yuan heard Wang Xian's words about being a pretty boy, he glared at him angrily and gnashed his teeth. "You didn't believe that you would lose just now," Wang Xian said plainly. All right. If I lose, I'll be at your disposal. But if you lose, give me the beast taming technique of the Baisun master." He Yuan stared at Wang Xian coldly. "All right, I'm not interested in dealing with you. 100,000 spiritual liquid." The beast taming technique of the Bai Sun master is worth more than that. Give me 100,000 spiritual liquid. Also, don't be so narcissistic in front of me in the future. Call me Big Brother when you see me. Wang Xian said with a smile. All right, 100,000 it is. If I lose, so what if I call you Big Brother? But if you lose, you will follow me in the future and serve my pet. He Yuan gritted his teeth and said, You are really shameless. However, I agree. Wang Xian saw that He Yuan had added another condition and said speechlessly. However, he naturally wouldn't reject it. He was taking 100,000 spiritual liquid for free. Looking at this pretty boy, he felt that this guy was a little cute. At least, he wasn't like the good-for-nothing disciples from other big forces. He didn't have too many schemes either. It was much easier to communicate with such a tsundere person. All right. He Yuan, will accept you as my follower. He Yuan stared at Wang Xian arrogantly and roared loudly. Roar lion, daughter. Ao Yuan. Roar. Roar. With He Yuan's order, 3 void interpretation level ferocious beasts flew over from behind. The other 20 or so ferocious beasts followed closely behind him. They stood behind him in an orderly manner and looked menacing. The group of people around hurriedly retreated. Long Xiaoyan's expression changed slightly when he saw the 3 level 1 void interpretation level ferocious beasts under him and the 20 or so half-step void interpretation level ferocious beasts. Brother Wang Xian, be careful. Long Xiaotian quickly reminded him. Don't worry. Wang Xian nodded his head and faced He Yuan slowly. Ling Zilin and the blood evil turtle came to his side. The void interpretation level dodos and more than 10 half-step void interpretation level dodos also came to his side. Roar. Roar. The group of beasts roared. HMPH. Today, I will defeat you and let you know my strength. He Yuan snorted coldly. The strength of a level 1 void interpretation realm expert was emitted from his body. Go! Go! With a command, all the ferocious beasts behind him charged toward Wang Xian. Ling Zilin and the rest of the ferocious beasts didn't need to give orders. They charged forward directly. 3 level 1 void interpretation realm ferocious beasts against 3 level 1 void interpretation realm ferocious beasts. It could be said that they were evenly matched. He Yuan had more than 20 half-step void interpretation realm ferocious beasts against more than 10 half-step void interpretation realm ferocious beasts. He had the upper hand. Wang Xian didn't mind. He moved his palm and lightning would appear in his hand. He Yuan also moved his palm slightly, and a wood-attributed staff appeared in his hand. His wood-attributed staff was emitting a bright light. It was at least a level 3 void interpretation weapon. Following that, he moved his palm again, and 2 wood-attributed bracelets were attached to his arm. They were still at least level 3 void interpretation weapons. If he were to include his armor, shoes, and the like, he would have at least 5 level 3 void interpretation weapons. He Yuan was almost armed to the teeth. Upon seeing the equipment on He Yuan, Long Xiaotian's expression changed drastically. Such luxurious equipment. Even if he were to become the crown prince, he would not be able to get it. Brother Wang Xian, be careful. He quickly reminded loudly, with a hint of worry in his eyes. With such powerful equipment, coupled with his strength of a level 1 insightful void tier, it would be very difficult for him to fight against a level 1 insightful void tier. Chapter 1289. 1289. Haha, that young man is obviously no match for young Master He. Of course, not to mention the powerful fierce beasts under young Master He, even his own strength is definitely not something that young man can compare to. Young Master He, teach that guy a lesson and let him know how powerful you are. Seeing the weapon in He Yuan's hand, the young men of the Yen clan had a burning look in their eyes as they flattered him from behind. Unless that youth is at the 2nd level of the profound void tier, he is absolutely not a match for little Yuan. That's right. Be careful later. Don't injure your life. The two middle-aged men looked at this scene with smiles on their faces as they stood at the side, ready to attack at any time. Roar, roar. The roars of fierce beasts rang out, and the group of fierce beasts had already engaged in a fierce battle. Young Master Wang. Around them, Long Xiaotian's subordinates were also shouting with worried faces. Haha, don't worry. No matter what, he is my follower today. I will not let him get hurt too badly. When He Yuan heard the voices of Long Xiaotian and the rest, he laughed heartily in his heart. Wang Xian looked at the somewhat smug He Yuan and revealed a smile on his face. He waved the lightning strike wood in his hand and numerous thorns attacked He Yuan. Brother Wang Xian, aren't you of the metal and water attributes? Why is it wood and water? Long Xiaotian, who was standing at the side, was surprised when he saw Wang Xian's attack. Could it be that he had obtained a special heaven and earth-water attribute? Wood attribute. Haha, you still dare to use the wood attribute in front of me. He Yuan showed a hint of disdain in his eyes. He waved the staff in his hand, and the trees within a radius of 1,000 meters in front of him attacked Wang Xian directly. Hee. Wang Xian smiled faintly. Water tomb. Earth burial entanglement. Wang Xian waved the lightning strike wood in his hand again. There was already 1/2 meter deep seawater below them. After Wang Xian used it, it was completely silent. With his current strength, even if He Yuan was equipped with powerful equipment, he could still defeat him easily. He Yuan was slightly stunned by the unexpected restraint. Following that, he felt a strong, entangling force coming from the water. What? He Yuan's expression changed drastically. 1,000 thorn slash. He swung the staff in his hand down heavily. However, what shocked him was that his attack did not break the thorns that were wrapped around his legs. The strong tearing force was still transmitted. Oh no! Myriad wood protection. He shouted loudly immediately. His entire body emitted a bright green glow. Numerous thorns were surrounding him. Explode, water danger explosion. Wang Xian shook his arm and unleashed his water attribute divine ability.
Boom, boom, boom.
The powerful attack force caused the defense that he had yet to form to explode.
What?
Dual attributes. Dual attributes. The two middle-aged men who were watching by the side had a drastic change in expression. They cried out involuntarily. What this? Even He Yuan's expression changed drastically. As he felt the powerful tearing force coming from beneath him and the terrifying water attribute divine ability in the surroundings, a hint of fear appeared in his eyes. Little Yuan is no match for him. Dual attributes. He can almost fight across levels. The two middle-aged men looked at each other. Without any hesitation, they flew straight towards the battlefield. All right, little brother, let's call it a day. A middle-aged man roared in a deep voice as he looked at Wang Xian in shock. Dual attributes. A powerful beast tamer. No one knew what kind of bloodline he had. However, they could guess that this young man's bloodline was definitely extraordinary. I really didn't expect that there would be such a powerful heaven's favorite in such a small domain like the Flowing Sea region. Coupled with a nameless sword demon, could it be that there will be a top-notch expert rising up in the Flowing Sea region? The two of them thought to themselves in surprise. They came to He Yuan's side and waved their arms to help him cut off the thorns that were entangling him. When Wang Xian saw them making their move, a smile appeared on his face. He looked at He Yuan and shouted mockingly, "How is it, little brother? Are you convinced?" At this moment, He Yuan was still in a state of shock. When he saw Wang Xian's mocking expression, his expression kept changing. However, he had to admit that he had lost. Moreover, he had lost completely. Dual attributes. You actually have dual attributes. What kind of bloodline do you have? To become a beast tamer, one had to have a bloodline. He Yuan was a little surprised as to what kind of bloodline Wang Xian had. In the supernatural continent, dual attribute demonic beasts existed. However, due to the preciousness of this bloodline, it had not appeared for thousands of years. Haha, I'm stronger than you anyway. Wang Xian laughed out loud. I'm just asking if you admit defeat, pretty boy. You. He Yuan's expression kept changing. He had lost in the beast taming competition, and he had also lost in the battle of strength. Wasn't he one of the top heaven's favorites in the vast region? Was this the central region of the Transcendence continent? I admit defeat. You won't go back on your word, right? Wang Xian looked at him and asked with a smile. He Yuan, am a man of my word. HMPH, here you are. This is 100,000 spirit liquid. He Yuan handed a few porcelain bottles to Wang Xian with an embarrassed expression. Then, how about calling me Big Brother again?
Ha!
Wang Xian took the porcelain bottles and laughed loudly as he continued to speak. You. Big. He Yuan's body was trembling slightly. It was difficult for him to call this fellow Big Brother. Big Brother. However, when he saw Wang Xian's mocking expression, he gritted his teeth and shouted loudly. The young men of the Yan clan were stunned when they heard Wang Xian call him Big Brother. He was a top-notch heaven's favorite of the He clan, yet he was calling him Big Brother. And this was the extremely arrogant young master these few days. Where did the pride that came from his soul go? The two middle-aged men didn't say anything when they saw the scene. They had witnessed this matter from the beginning to the end. Naturally, they wouldn't attack Wang Xian directly because of such a small matter. Furthermore, they did not sense Wang Xian's hostility. All right, little brother, you're a good boy now. Wang Xian smiled. One day, I will come for revenge. He Yuan looked at Wang Xian's smug look and swore through gritted teeth. Welcome. Wang Xian smiled and kept the spiritual liquid. 100,000 spiritual liquid and 70 million dragon crystals. Happy to have it. Humph. He Yuan turned around with a face full of anger. He wanted to leave immediately. Wait. Looking at He Yuan's figure, a smile flashed across Wang Xian's eyes. It was not easy to meet a rich person who could still see eye to eye with him. How could Wang Xian let him leave immediately? Naturally, he had to get more spiritual liquid from him. Speak quickly if you have anything to say. He Yuan turned his head to look at Wang Xian with an embarrassed expression and roared in a deep voice. Do you want to buy the beast-taming inheritance of the old man of Baisun? Wang Xian asked with a smile. Yes. He Yuan's heart skipped a beat. A hint of surprise flashed across his eyes as he hurriedly shouted. For the first time, he felt that this fellow was not that annoying. Although the beast-taming skills of the old man of Baisun were not that important to him. As a beast-tamer, he naturally wanted to master more beast-taming skills. 200,000 spiritual liquid. Wang Xian said faintly. He Yuan. Chapter 1290. 1290 Ling Jian, Yar's invitation letter. 200,000 spiritual liquid was not a small amount. If converted to spiritual stones, it would be at least 1 trillion. He had obtained the title of the Supreme Prodigy, and the amount of dragon crystals he obtained was only over 200 million. The 100,000 spiritual liquid he obtained just now, together with the 200,000 spiritual liquid, was equivalent to over 200 million dragon crystals. Even though He Yuan had an extraordinary status, he could not take out so much spiritual liquid at once. Furthermore, he had already lost 100,000 spiritual liquid to Wang Xian. Aren't you trying to scam me? He Yuan couldn't help but shout at Wang Xian with a furious expression. It's a little expensive. Let's take 100,000 spiritual liquid then. Wang Xian also felt that the price he wanted was a little too high. He lowered the price by 100,000 with a smile on his face. HMPH, that's more like it. He Yuan snorted coldly and immediately looked at his interspatial ring. However, his expression quickly turned stiff. I have no more spiritual liquid here. I only have 10,000 essence blood. I'll give you the rest of the spiritual liquid in 2 days. He Yuan took out a porcelain bottle and gestured at him. All right, I feel that you, as a young master, will not go back on your word. Wang Xian waved his arm and threw the beast tamer technique that he obtained from old man Baisun directly to him. The beast tamer technique was not of much use to Wang Xian. Moreover, it was definitely worth it to exchange for 100,000 spiritual liquid. He Yuan looked at the secret manual that Wang Xian threw to him with some surprise. He took a glance at it. His impression of Wang Xian had changed a lot. All right, He Yuan, will naturally not do such a despicable thing. Tell me a place, and I will get someone to send it over. He Yuan raised his head slightly and said to Wang Xian, all right, you can get someone to send it directly to the island of the Guanglong dynasty. Wang Xian nodded his head. It will definitely be delivered within 3 days. He Yuan promised. All right. Wang Xian responded and looked at Long Xiaotian. Brother Wang Xian, let's go back now. We can go back first, hee. Long Xiaotian looked at the first-level void interpretation realm dodo bird beside Wang Xian and a dozen other half-step void interpretation realm dodos. His eyes lit up as he spoke. All right, let's go back. Wang Xian nodded with a smile. He knew that Long Xiaotian couldn't wait to go back and tame them. Furthermore, with the dozen of half-step void interpretation realm dodos, the influence of his subordinates had almost doubled. Let's go back. Long Xiaotian shouted and glanced at He Yuan and the others with a red face. Let's go. Long Xiaotian and the others also shouted at their mounts with excitement.
Ha!
Brother He, are you going back too? When they returned and saw He Yuan and the others in the same direction, Long Xiaotian hesitated and asked, let's go back. He Yuan looked at Long Xiaotian, who still appeared a little arrogant. However, he looked at Wang Xian curiously and said, this person, I wonder which family you come from. How can you be so strong? I come from a small country. My strength isn't that strong. At the very least, I can't be compared to the supreme heaven's favorites here. Wang Xian said indifferently, praising himself in a disguised manner. Nameless sword demon, is it? I've heard of this person before. To be able to defeat a demonic beast of the second level of the see-through realm easily, and he's only 26 years old, he's indeed very heaven-defying. As He Yuan spoke, he frowned slightly. He was one of the top heaven's favorites in the vast region. However, to come to this small place and have 2 contemporaries who were stronger than him, this made him feel a little uncomfortable. This brother's strength is also very powerful. He has 3 insightful void-level fierce beasts and more than 20 half-step insightful void-level fierce beasts under him. Among his contemporaries, there are few who can match him. Long Xiaotian said with a smile. These are just some of my pets. At home, I still have 3 insightful void-level pets. If I bring all of them here, I won't lose our competition. When He Yuan heard Long Xiaotian's praise, he raised his head in enjoyment and said, 3 more? That's impressive. Long Xiaotian's eyes were filled with astonishment. He didn't flatter him. To have 6 pets at the first level of the insightful void tier at such a young age was indeed heaven-defying. He Yuan smiled, and his face was filled with pride. In the future, I want to build a strong pet army. An army that is even more powerful than the Old Man Baisun. Is the Old Man of Baisun very famous in the vast region? Wang Xian asked He Yuan curiously. Famous, of course he is famous. More than 100 years ago, the Old Man of Baisun had 5 pets at the peak of the 6th level of the see-through realm. Don't you think they are powerful? There are more than 100 pets above the see-through realm. Their strength is simply heaven-defying. However, they were too arrogant and provoked. He Yuan began to explain to Wang Xian about the deeds of the 100 patrol masters. During the rest of the journey, Wang Xian, Long Xiaotian, and He Yuan started to chat. He Yuan came from a vast region, so he was naturally more knowledgeable. As the prince of the Light Dragon dynasty, Long Xiaotian was also very knowledgeable. Wang Xian was considered to be the least knowledgeable among the 3 of them. However, Wang Xian was the strongest. Long Xiaotian was close to him, so He Yuan was obviously superior to Long Xiaotian. When the young men of the Yen clan saw young master He conversing with the second prince of the Guanglong dynasty, and the young man who defeated young master He, they were slightly envious. They were not on equal terms with young master He at all. Perhaps only Long Xiaotian, who had a high chance of inheriting the throne, and the young man who defeated young master He were qualified to have a normal conversation with him. The two middle-aged men behind him saw He Yuan conversing with him and were more supportive. He Yuan came out to train, mainly to train his heart. "Brother He Yuan, how long have you been in the transvestite graveyard?" Long Xiaotian asked He Yuan as they walked out of the blood refinement ground. "I've only been here for half a month, and I've spent most of my time in the blood refinement ground. I need to rest well for the next few days." He Yuan replied to Long Xiaotian. "Oh, then, Brother He Yuan, if you want to take a stroll around the tomb of the demi-human, you can come and look for us. I'm the host here. I'll bring you around to have some fun." Long Xiaotian looked at Wang Xian and said with a smile. Wang Xian nodded his head in agreement at the side. Sure. Of course, there's no problem. Let's do it tomorrow. I'll deliver the rest of the spiritual liquid to Brother Wang Xian tomorrow morning." He Yuan also revealed a smile and nodded his head. "Haha, alright. How about Brother Wang Xian? There's still a lot of fun to be had in the human demon graveyard." Long Xiaotian laughed out loud and looked at Wang Xian. "Sure." Wang Xian nodded his head. Apparently, Long Xiaotian also wanted to befriend someone with a deep background like young Master He. Wang Xian didn't have much to do recently. The three of them agreed on a time. When they arrived at the edge of the tomb of the demi-human, they separated from He Yuan and the rest. Wang Xian followed Long Xiaotian to the island of the Guanglong dynasty and tamed the ferocious beast. Then, he returned to his own residence. This is? When he returned to his room, he was slightly stunned when he saw an invitation card on the table in the courtyard. Ling Jian, Yar's invitation card. Chapter 1291. 1291 Heavenly Sword Ling Yun. Heavenly Sword Ling Yun. Has this Ling Jian gotten over it? Has she acknowledged her father? What will Heavenly Sword Ling Yun be? The welcoming ceremony her father held for her? Wang Xian looked at the words on the invitation letter and guessed curiously. Heavenly Sword Ling Yun would be held on the island of the Heavenly Sword sect 2 days later. Wang Xian thought about it and kept the invitation letter. He could go and take a look at the Heavenly Sword Ling Yun meeting in 2 days. The night passed quickly. The next morning, Wang Xian arrived at the island of the Radiant Dragon Empire punctually according to the time. When Wang Xian arrived, He Yuan and Long Xiaotian had already arrived. "Brother Wang Xian, the remaining spiritual liquid is for you." He Yuan waved his arm and threw a porcelain bottle at him. Wang Xian smiled and caught it. 200,000 spiritual liquid could be converted into 140 million dragon crystals. He was still about 400 million away from leveling up. "Let's go. I'll bring you to Xiao Yun Pavilion. It's a good place." Long Xiaotian said to Wang Xian, He Yuan and the rest in a good mood. The two of them followed by the side and walked towards the Xiao Yun Pavilion that he mentioned. The so-called Xiao Yun Pavilion went straight into the clouds. Clouds and mist passed through the pavilion. However, the most distinctive feature of this place were the naked beauties. When Wang Xian entered, he was slightly stunned. However, when he saw Long Xiaotian winking at them, he gave them an understanding look. It was obvious that this was the first time He Yuan came to such a place. His eyes were somewhat attracted, and he would look left and right from time to time. It was obvious that he was a novice. This made Wang Xian and Long Xiaotian feel amused and mocked him. This made He Yuan's face turn red. As the most outstanding son of Heaven's pride in the family, he had grown up in the eyes of everyone in the He clan. Naturally, he had never been to such a place. Moreover, after coming here, the young disciples of the Yen clan did not dare to bring him to such a place. There were 3 great ironies in life. Going through the same window, going through the same spear. The other one was understood by everyone. This clearly made sense even if it was on the transcendental continent. Although they were not considered to be a place for red lanterns and feasting, they were simply relaxing and watching the dance. Hey, do you guys know about the Heavenly Sword Sect? One day ago, the sect master of the Heavenly Sword Sect went to the royal city of the Hanhai dynasty and killed 5 or 6 insightful Void Realm experts. He also killed the prince who besieged Ling Jian'er.
How could we not know?
This is a big event that shocked the Luhai region. The sect master of the Heavenly Sword Sect broke through and reached the 6th level of the insightful Void Realm, becoming one of the strongest experts in the Luhai region. In the future, the Heavenly Sword Sect will be able to stand on equal footing with the Bloody Flow dynasty. The sect master of the Heavenly Sword Sect has personally come to bring her daughter back. I heard that he has failed several times. In the end, I wonder how Ling Jian'er agreed to it. Tomorrow, the Heavenly Sword Sect will hold the Heavenly Sword Ling Yun event. Firstly, it is to announce the current strength of their Heavenly Sword Sect. Secondly, it is to bring Ling Jian'er back. Oh, right. I heard that the Heavenly Sword Sect will announce that a disciple will join. I told you it is best not to provoke Ling Jian'er. Her father will definitely come to pick her up. However, what everyone did not expect was that her father actually made a breakthrough and directly charged into the royal city of the Hanhai dynasty, which bullied his daughter. It is simply too domineering. With Ling Jian'er's current status, even some princes of the Bloodshed Empire can't compare to her, right? Just as Wang Xian and the other two were lying in the special hot spring of the Yunxiao Pavilion, a conversation came from the side, causing Wang Xian to be slightly stunned. By the way, brother Wang Xian, don't you know Ling Jian'er? Did you receive the invitation from Tian Jianlingyan? Long Xiaotian heard the conversation and asked him. I received it. Wang Xian nodded. Ling Jian'er? Is the Heaven Sword Sect very powerful? He Yuan asked curiously. She is considered one of the top forces in the Luhai region. Ling Jian'er is also very powerful. She has the battle strength of the see-through void tier at such a young age. She is ranked 3rd on the Heaven's Favorites list. Long Xiaotian explained to him. Oh, she has the battle strength of the see-through void tier at such a young age. Moreover, she is a girl. I realized that the Heaven's Favorites in the Luhai region are also very powerful. He Yuan said with some surprise. This year is a little special. I wonder how each and every one of these freaks appeared. Long Xiaotian shook his head and said with some emotion. I reckon that all the major factions in the Flowing Sea region will be present this time. The sect master of the Heaven Sword Sect is going to become the strongest powerhouse. In the future, even the Blood Flow Empire will have to be wary of him. He continued, tomorrow should be a grand gathering. Brother Wang Xian, let's go together. Yes, sure. Wang Xian nodded his head. The 3 of them played for more than 10 hours in some well-known places in the tomb of the demi-human. On the afternoon of the 2nd day, Wang Xian flew towards the seaside. The island of the Sky Sword Sect was not very far from the Light Dragon Empire. It was only about 10 kilometers away. The Heavenly Sword Sect was a powerful sect that wasn't weaker than the Light Dragon Empire. Now that the Heavenly Sword Sect master's strength had increased, the Heavenly Sword Sect had become a force that was comparable to the Blood Flow Empire. The entire Luhai region was an unparalleled existence. This Heaven's Pride Lingyun gathering was a form of propaganda for the Heavenly Sword Sect. At the same time, it announced the return of Ling Jian'er. From this Heaven Sword Lingyun gathering, everyone knew what kind of status Ling Jian'er had in the Heaven Sword Sect. When Wang Xian arrived at the island of the Heaven Sword Sect, there were already many people at the front. Everyone had an extraordinary temperament. The forces they represented could intimidate a large group of people with just a casual display. Brother Wang Xian. Long Xiaotian's voice rang out as he looked over. Let's go in. He Yuan will come over with the Yen clansmen later. All right. Wang Xian nodded his head, and the 2 of them walked towards the Heavenly Sword Sect's island. No one dared to reject the invitation letter from the Heavenly Sword sect. Even the Blood Flow Empire had to give them some face. There were many people around them, young masters and young ladies from various forces, as well as the outstanding Heavens Chosen on the Heavens Chosen roll. Wang Xian had met quite a few of them. Tonight, Sky Sword Lingyun would be located in front of the back mountain behind the island. In front of the 100-meter-long mountain peak, there were artificial mountains and fake water. The environment was very beautiful. There were hundreds of tables placed around them. There would be no less than 3,000 to 4,000 people who would arrive tonight. Second Prince, you're here so early. Hee. Big brother Long Xiaotian, I heard that you got a batch of mounts. Congratulations. Wang Xian followed Long Xiaotian to the back of the mountain. As soon as he entered, some young men came up to him. They spoke to Long Xiaotian with some compliments. Recently, almost everyone thought that the second prince of the Radiant Dragon Dynasty had a high chance of inheriting the throne and would become the king of the Radiant Dragon Dynasty in the future. Naturally, they had formed a good relationship in advance. When Long Xiaotian saw the few of them approaching, he politely responded to them one by one. At a place in front of them, more than 10 young men were sitting at a table. When they saw Long Xiaotian and Wang Xian, their eyes turned cold. Chapter 1292. 1292. He had 6 wives. The mission over there failed. What a piece of trash. It was the Devil Realm who was careless. That kid opened a grocery store that even sold a level 2 profound void formation array. The assassins they sent were obviously discovered by the array and killed. This kid is very tricky to deal with. When second brother saw us coming together, he also put all his subordinates on the island of the Light Dragon Dynasty. We can't drag this on any longer. If we drag this on any longer, even if second brother cowers now, we won't be his match in the future. On the back mountain of the Heavenly Sword Sex Island, the first prince, the 16th prince, the 22nd prince, the 36th prince, and the 42nd prince of the Radiant Dragon Empire were sitting at a table. Beside them, there were 7 to 8 young men. All of them were disciples of aristocratic families and favored sons of heaven. When the 5 princes saw Long Xiaotian and Wang Xian arriving, a cold look flashed across their eyes. A few days ago, they paid a huge price to hire a Devil Realm assassin organization to assassinate the young beast tamer. In the end, what they didn't expect was to fail the mission. The 3 assassins disappeared immediately, causing them to look extremely embarrassed. Yesterday, they received news that Long Xiaotian had obtained more than 100 powerful ferocious beast mounts, which shocked them greatly. If this continued, even if Long Xiaotian stopped developing, they would still not be a match for him. This made every prince's expression extremely awkward. A bloodline cultivator from a small country. He is actually a powerful beast tamer. Humph. Su Wenling, who was sitting at the side, followed the gazes of the 5 princes. When he saw Wang Xian, his eyes were filled with dissatisfaction and jealousy. Initially, he was prepared to seek refuge with the second prince. However, due to the appearance of Wang Xian, he was displeased and did not seek refuge with the second prince. Instead, he sought refuge under the first prince, who was also a heaven's favorite. Under the first prince, he was indeed more valued and had a high status among the subordinates of the first prince. However, when he saw the second prince's powerful strength, he felt a strong sense of dissatisfaction. It was all because of that young man. Hee, you can look down on bloodline cultivators, but you can't look down on beast tamers. Su Wenling's words caused a young man on the opposite side to retort lightly. Big brother Jiang Chuan, I heard that a powerful and beautiful beast tamer teacher came to your academy. Is that true? A young man asked with a smile. Jiang Chuan picked up the wine cup on the table and took a deep breath. His eyes flashed with a trace of heat, and he nodded with a smile. Brother Jiang, have you considered the matter of the young beast tamer? The 36th prince looked at Jiang Chuan and asked with a smile. The other princes, Long Xiaochen and the others, also looked at him with smiles. Hee hee, I won't participate in the competition between the princes of the Light Dragon dynasty. It won't benefit me at all. Jiang Chuan looked at them and shook his head lightly. Brother Jiang Chuan, you only need to deal with that kid, not my brother. The reward in the future is negotiable. Long Xiaochen frowned and asked Jiang Chuan, you can't even get rid of that kid even if you invite the demon realm. How can I have the ability? Jiang Chuan smiled and shook his head. This made Long Xiaochen and the others' faces turn ugly. The 36th prince was on good terms with Jiang Chuan, but Jiang Chuan didn't want to get involved in this kind of thing. After all, it involved the competition for the throne of the Light Dragon dynasty. If the second prince, Long Xiao, was naive enough to ascend the throne in the future, then he would make enemies with him and might suffer revenge in the future. Long Xiaochen and the other princes' faces turned ugly. They had used an assassin once and paid a huge price. If they continued to hire assassins, they wouldn't be able to afford the spirit stones and spirit liquids they needed. Besides assassins, there weren't many people who could help them kill 2 experts of the first rank of the profound void tier. To kill him, they would need to use experts of the second rank of the profound void tier, at the very least. As for experts of the second rank of the profound void tier, they didn't have any. When the other forces saw that the other party was the second prince's man, they didn't dare to offend him. This was because they were afraid that Long Xiaotian would take revenge on them after he ascended the throne. Jiang Chuan had the ability to do so because he was the great-grandson of the current principal of the Divine Wind Academy. He was a descendant of the principal. Moreover, Jiang Chuan was deeply loved by the principal. He was able to mobilize experts at the second level of the Void Interpretation realm, but he did not want to get involved. This made them very helpless. The 5 princes looked at each other and frowned while drinking wine. They were thinking about how to deal with Long Xiaotian and Wang Xian. This must be the second prince's good brother, Brother Wang Xian. I've heard a lot about you. On the other side, when Wang Xian and Long Xiaotian arrived, many people came to greet them. Many of them also greeted Wang Xian. Now, some of them knew that he had a deep relationship with Long Xiaotian. Furthermore, they also knew about Wang Xian killing the 8th prince's subordinates with the 2 ferocious beasts. Wang Xian replied politely as well. At this moment, his expression suddenly froze. He stared straight ahead, and his expression changed slightly. Why is she here? I didn't expect her to be here. Wang Xian sighed slightly. Looking at the figure, he hesitated for a moment before standing up and walking over. Where are you going, Brother Wang Xian? Long Xiaotian saw Wang Xian leaving and asked hurriedly. I met an acquaintance. Wang Xian waved his hand without turning his head and walked straight towards the figure. Long Xiaotian looked over curiously. When he saw Wang Xian in front of him, he was slightly taken aback. His expression was a little strange. Brother Wang Xian's old lover? Zhang Fengying. Wang Xian looked at the tall and graceful figure standing together with a girl. A smile appeared on his face as he shouted directly. Meow. A cute kitten squeezed out from her exaggerated clothes and looked at Wang Xian. Zhang Fengying, who was chatting with the girl next to her, froze slightly. She turned around and looked at him in astonishment. What a coincidence. I didn't expect you to be here. Wang Xian smiled and continued. Zhang Fengying was slightly stunned when she saw Wang Xian's face. She pursed her lips and her eyes flickered. Fengying? Who is this? The lady at the side looked at Wang Xian and looked at him in astonishment. A friend. Zhang Fengying suddenly smiled and looked at the lady. Xiaoya, talk to your friend first. I still have something to do. As she spoke, she looked at Wang Xian with a smile and walked over. Wang Xian took a wine cup from the side and walked to her before handing it to her. Why are you here? Wang Xian looked at her and asked. To improve my strength and ability. That's why I'm here. Zhang Fengying looked at Wang Xian with a smile on her face. I didn't expect to meet you here. Haha, this might be fate. Wang Xian smiled and sized her up. It seems like you are much skinnier than before.
Ew.
Chapter 1293. 1293 in. He had 6 wives. This focus of yours doesn't look like a good person. When Zhang Fengying saw him sizing her up, she couldn't help but roll her eyes at him and said unhappily, "Hee, what are you doing now? Why are you here?" Wang Xian asked her. "I'm a teacher in the Divine Wind Academy. I joined the academy by chance not too long ago. What about you? Why did you come here from the Dragon and Phoenix dynasty?" Zhang Fengying asked him. "To gain experience and improve my strength. I think I'll be back in 7 to 8 months at most." Wang Xian said to her and hesitated for a moment. "I'll go back then."
Come with me.
"The tomb of the demi-human is too messy. It's not safe." Zhang Fengying was stunned when she heard his words. She smoothed her long hair and her eyes sparkled. "We'll see." Wang Xian shook his head and said, "It's decided then. HMPH, if I don't go back, can you still tie me up and bring me back?" Zhang Fengying glared at him and snorted softly. Wang Xian smiled and started to talk about what had happened to her during this period of time. However, at this moment, Jiang Chuan, who was sitting beside the few princes of the Kingdom of Light Dragon, suddenly stood up. His gaze was directed at Wang Xian and Zhang Fengying as his expression kept changing. Brother Jiang Chuan, what's wrong?" Everyone at the table looked at Jiang Chuan and asked in surprise. Why did he suddenly lose his composure? They followed Jiang Chuan's line of sight and were a little surprised. When Long Xiaoqun and the other princes saw Wang Xian's figure, their eyes flickered. They looked at Zhang Fengying, who was beside Wang Xian, and then at Jiang Chuan, whose expression kept changing. A faint smile appeared on their faces. "I really didn't expect that kid to have such luck with women. That beauty is really beautiful." Long Xiaoqun said it on purpose. However, the envy on his face was very real. Zhang Fengying's appearance was definitely one of the best. However, the most popular thing was her figure. Top-notch. She was simply top-notch. That guy doesn't have the right to enjoy such luck with women. Prince number 16 glanced at Prince number 36 and said faintly, "Brother Jiang Chuan, may I know what is the relationship between that beauty and you?" Prince number 36 looked at Jiang Chuan with a smile and asked. Jiang Chuan didn't answer. His gaze was fixed on Wang Xian and Zhang Fengying. Even though he didn't dare to believe it himself, he had to admit that the relationship between that guy and Zhang Fengying wasn't ordinary. In fact, they were overly intimate. He knew that Zhang Fengying was very cold to other men.
But now,
Phew. He took a deep breath and finished the wine in his glass. Then he looked at the few princes of the Light Dragon dynasty. "Help me humiliate that kid. Leave the rest to me." He looked at Long Xiaoqun and the others with a gloomy face. Good. Brother Jiang Chuan, don't worry. A kid from a small country, even if he has some ability, is not qualified to snatch a beauty from you." Long Xiaoqun and the others burst into laughter. They looked at each other and said, "Leave this matter to us. What do you guys do?" Jiang Chuan narrowed his eyes slightly and asked coldly. The few of them fell silent and looked pensive. The simplest way is undoubtedly to tarnish his reputation. However, after today, I hope Brother Jiang Chuan can give it a try. The eyes of the 42nd prince flickered as he looked at the group of women on the table beside them.
don't worry about that.
"I won't be a dilettante," Jiang Chuan said coldly. "That's good." The 42nd prince stood up and walked to the side with a smile on his face. When the group of women on the table saw him walking over, 2 of them immediately stood up. "Vixen? Cherry Blossom Mercenary Group?" Seeing the 42nd prince walk over, the rest of them revealed a trace of contemplation, followed by a trace of a smile on their faces. Done. Soon, the 42nd prince came back with a big smile on his face. He looked at them and said, "If Princess Tang Ling finds out about this, we'll have to compensate her. As expected of a prince. He's really resourceful." Jiang Chuan said with a faint smile. Hee, we're taking a big risk. We can't be ordered by Brother Jiang Chuan to do such a thing, right? The 42nd prince smiled and said nonchalantly. Fengming, come here. Let us introduce you to a few sisters. After Wang Xian and Zhang Fengming had talked for more than 10 minutes, the girl called Xiaoya shouted at her. All right, I'll be leaving for a while. Zhang Fengming waved at Xiaoya and said to Wang Xian helplessly. Okay. Wang Xian nodded and said with a smile. Zhang Fengming walked toward Xiaoya. There were at least 5,000 to 6,000 people around her. Fortunately, the island was very large and didn't seem crowded at all. Among them, the disciples of the various major forces and the experts representing the insightful emptiness realm were gathered together. Some of them were conversing, while others were greeting each other. This is young Master Wang Xian. Just as Wang Xian was about to return to Long Xiaotian's place, a gentle and charming voice suddenly came from the side. Wang Xian was stunned for a moment. He looked at a lady who was walking towards him with a surprised expression. The lady was dressed in a slightly revealing manner. She perfectly displayed her impressive body. Her looks were not bad, and she was considered a beauty. You are? Wang Xian looked at her with a puzzled expression. I'm a vixen, Mayor. The woman walked to Wang Xian's side with a smile on her face. Her body was soft as she leaned over with a strange hongwan in her hand. You must have mistaken me for someone else, right? Wang Xian frowned as he looked at her. There was a hint of impatience in his eyes. You don't recognize me just like that? You are really heartless. Didn't you say that you would marry me in the future? Didn't you say that when the second prince ascends the throne, you would give me a bright future? Why are you like this now? Sob, sob. As the woman spoke, she gently placed hongwan on Wang Xian's body and started to cry. Tears fell from her eyes. She looked extremely miserable, just like a woman who had been abandoned. The second prince. When Wang Xian heard these 3 words, he raised his eyebrows and scanned his surroundings. When he saw more than 10 people looking in his direction, he understood a little. Get lost. Don't court death. Wang Xian waved his arm and shook it gently. Hongwan landed directly on her body. A trace of aura shook her. Aya, sob, 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 sob. I didn't expect you to be such a person. You promised to give me happiness. Now that you want my body, you actually pretended not to know me. You heartless man. Under Wang Xian's aura, the woman fell to the side. She cried miserably and shouted at Wang Xian loudly. What's going on? What's going on? The surroundings were crowded with people. When they saw the woman who suddenly fell, they were stunned. Chapter 1294. 1294 and he had 6 wives. I didn't expect you to be this kind of person. It's all my fault for being blind to believe you. A miserable and indignant voice came out of the woman's mouth. He stared at Wang Xian with a face full of anger. He looked as weak as he could be.
He was as miserable as he could be.
Wang Xian looked at the woman who suddenly accused him in her grief and indignation. He frowned slightly. He couldn't understand what this woman was up to. What benefits could he gain by framing him? What kind of blow could he cause to Long Xiaotian? Wang Xian looked at the woman on the ground with an expressionless face. A hint of coldness flashed across his eyes. From the moment this woman mentioned the second prince, he knew that it was definitely Long Xiaotian's brothers who framed him. However, he didn't understand how a woman could hurt him by framing him. Isn't that the Fox clan's fox charm? This young man actually abandoned the fox charm. This is somewhat inhumane. The Fox clan's women have always been extremely loyal. There are many young masters who want to marry the Fox clan's women. Unfortunately, their horizons are too high. This young man actually abandoned the fox charm. That's right, that's right. This young man seems to be the Light Dragon Dynasty's Long Xiaotian's brother. He seems to have 2 profound void tier 1st level fierce beasts. TSK, so what? He's rather powerful. Who here has a weak background? How could this fellow do such a thing? It's really embarrassing. Some people around looked over. When they saw this scene, all of them pointed at Wang Xian with disdain. Don't court death. I don't even know you. It's best for you to disappear from my sight as soon as possible. Wang Xian frowned and said coldly as he listened to the discussions of the people around him. Wang Xian, I didn't expect you to be so heartless. You've been with Mayor for so long, and now you've turned your back on her. You're too shameless. Mayor treats you so well. That's right. Mayor often praises you in front of us. I didn't expect you to turn your back on her now. It's a waste for her to hand everything she has to you. At this moment, two voices filled with anger rang out. Two figures walked over to him and helped the fox seductress up from the ground. HMPH, how can there be such a scumbag? He actually said that he didn't want to die and that he should just disappear from my sight. Such a man should be exterminated. That's right. A woman with fox bloodline is extremely loyal. This scumbag actually did such a thing. Damn it, damn it. When the surrounding girls heard the words of the two girls, they also cursed at Wang Xian angrily.
Get out.
People like him should get out. Some of the young men also shouted at Wang Xian with cold faces. Everyone around had a strong background. Even if some of them knew that Wang Xian was Long Xiaoyan's brother, there were still people who refused to give him face. Wang Xian looked at the thousands of people around him who were looking at him. Many of them started to criticize him and frowned slightly. How is it, Brother Jiang Chuan? Are you satisfied now? Not far away, the 42nd prince looked at this scene with a smug expression and said to Jiang Chuan, "Ha, good, good. Beautiful. It's really beautiful. This is the effect I wanted." Jiang Chuan could not help but laugh when he saw this scene and gave the 42nd prince a thumbs up. This was exactly what he wanted. He wanted to destroy that kid's reputation. If that was the case, Zhang Fengying would never get close to such a scumbag. Come, let's go, and take a look. He stood up happily and walked forward. The group of princes followed behind. They looked at Prince number 42 with a smile on their faces. Brother number 42, I didn't expect you to have so many beauties. Is it still useful? Hee brothers, I have sacrificed a lot here. Prince number 42 smiled faintly. The five of them laughed at the same time. They did not expect that Jiang Chuan would be willing to take action to get rid of that kid because of this matter. This was a pleasant surprise to them. Long Xiaotian and Zhang Fengying, who were not far away, frowned slightly when they saw the incident with Wang Xian. Fengying, isn't that your friend? What's going on? The lady beside her looked at this scene in astonishment. Zhang Fengying frowned slightly and walked over directly. Xiaoya, who was beside her, immediately followed behind. Look over there, that's Luo Hongwan. A woman with fox bloodline is extremely loyal. She would always carry her Luo Hongwan with her. I didn't expect that guy to throw her away. That's true. Sigh, it's such a pity for Miss Foxy. I feel sorry for him for meeting such a man. Yeah, a guy like that should be eaten by fierce beasts. When more people gathered around, a lady suddenly pointed at Luo Hongwan, who was on the ground, and said, Luo Hongwan was the fresh blood left behind by the lady during her first time. A lady with fox bloodline would always carry her with her. When they saw Luo Hongwan, they also saw the miserable look on Hu Mei's face. With the witnesses and evidence gathered, everyone stared at Wang Xian angrily. What's going on, Brother Wang Xian? Long Xiaotian walked over hurriedly. He frowned as he looked at Wang Xian. Then, he looked at the vixen beside him. His eyes were filled with doubt. I don't know her. Wang Xian looked at Long Xiaotian and said directly. You don't know her? Long Xiaotian frowned slightly. He stared at the vixen and said, I will investigate this matter clearly. If you are the one who slandered my brother, you, including the Fox clan, will have to wait and see. Long Xiaoyan's domineering words caused Ling Hu Mei's face to turn pale. Some of the surrounding youths and women also frowned when they heard his words. However, they did not dare to speak. There was almost no one in the area who could match the Light Dragon Empire's strength. Long Xiaotian, you are a little immoral. A woman was abandoned by your brother, and you actually said that? Are you using your power to oppress others? However, at this moment, Jiang Chuan's voice was heard. When he saw this scene, a trace of a smile flashed across his eyes as he said faintly, "That's right, you can't bully a girl like that. That's right, that's right." The few girls next to him were somewhat afraid of Long Xiaotian's power, and they echoed in a low voice. "Hee hee, what kind of person are you? What kind of friends do you have? Second brother, don't embarrass us." As soon as Jiang Chuan finished speaking, Long Xiaotian and the others walked over with smiles on their faces and said loudly, "I naturally know the character of my friend. I also know the character of my brother. That's why I said that someone might have deliberately framed him." Long Xiaotian saw them and frowned slightly. He narrowed his eyes and said, "Haha, deliberately framed? We will waste time to frame your friend for such a thing. What loss will it bring to you? What benefit will it bring to us? We won't be so bored." The corner of Long Xiaotian's mouth slightly curled up as he said with a face full of ridicule. Chapter 1295. 1295. You are too ugly and not qualified. Long Xiaotian frowned slightly. Indeed, just as Long Xiaotian had said, using such a low-level method to frame Wang Xian and implicate him was of no use. A woman could at most cause Wang Xian's reputation to be a little bad. But speaking of which, it didn't affect Wang Xian at all. In a world where strength reigned supreme, there was no need to care about anything else. Looking at the seductive fox and Luo Hongwan on the ground, Long Xiaotian looked at Wang Xian again. Even he had some doubts. Wang Xian was really a reckless person who was always abandoned. When the crowd heard Long Xiaotian's words, they nodded their heads silently. They also knew that it was meaningless to use such means in the fight for the throne. It was impossible for the prince of the Light Dragon dynasty to use such low-level means. This had no effect on the overall situation. With this, it made others think that Wang Xian was a scumbag. HMPH. Fengying, I didn't expect your friend to be so despicable. I think it's better for you not to get so close to him in the future. Xiaoya and Zhang Fengying came closer. When they heard the conversation over here, they said angrily. Zhang Fengying looked at Wang Xian and then looked at the vixen. She frowned slowly. I don't know why you're trying to frame me, but let me tell you, you are from the Fox clan, right? I will seek justice. Wang Xian looked at Hu Mei, who was trying to frame him. His heart was filled with killing intent. Since the other party dared to deal with him, he would have to pay the price. And some of the costs were not something that some people could afford. Hu Mei's face turned pale when she heard Wang Xian's cold words. Her eyes revealed a look of horror. She couldn't help but take a glance at the 42nd Prince's position. The 42nd Prince's expression changed slightly as well. He immediately shouted, "Humph, you are really arrogant. Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you have second brother."
Why?
Don't tell me you want to exterminate the Fox bloodline clan? How arrogant. When Wang Xian saw Hu Mei's pleading gaze earlier, he looked at the 42nd Prince with a cold gaze. I hate arrogant people like you the most. Not only did you abandon a woman, you even wanted to exterminate another family. Let me tell you, don't be too arrogant. Do you believe that I can exterminate you? Jiang Chuan raised his head slightly and took a few steps forward. He stared coldly at Wang Xian and said with a face full of disdain. Hiss, looks like this guy has angered the public. Even young Master Jiang Chuan can't stand it anymore. Jiang Chuan is the descendant of the Dean of the Divine Wind Academy. If he really wants to deal with this Wang Xian, he really has the ability to do so. I support young Master Jiang Chuan to kill this scumbag, haha. Young Master Jiang Chuan is so upright. I support you. When the surrounding people heard Jiang Chuan's words, they all looked over with admiration and admiration. When Jiang Chuan saw the scene, He raised his head slightly with a smile on his face. He glanced at Zhang Fengying, who was not far away, with a smug look in his eyes. He was standing at the highest point of justice. If he were to trample on a jerk, she would definitely look up to him. Wow, young Master Jiang Chuan is really handsome. Fengying, Jiang Chuan has been chasing you for such a long time. You should consider it. He's handsome, strong, and has a strong background. You have to stay away from this guy. Such a scumbag is really annoying. Xiaoya looked at Jiang Chuan, who stood up and spoke to Wang Xian in a domineering manner. A hint of admiration appeared on her face as she spoke to Zhang Fengying. Jiang Chuan, if you dare to touch my brother, you better consider the consequences. Long Xiaotian stared coldly at Jiang Chuan and said coldly, "Humph, what? Long Xiaotian, do you think I'm afraid of you?" Jiang Chuan's face turned cold when he saw Long Xiaotian threatening him. "Second brother, it's good to protect your friend, but don't forget your heart and don't be too arrogant." Long Xiaochen and the others took a few steps forward and said in a tit-for-tat manner. Everyone was slightly silent when they saw this scene. In the current Luhai region, the strongest few powers were the Blood Flow Empire and the Heaven Sword Sect. Next were the Hanhai Empire, the Light Dragon Empire, and the Divine Wind Academy. Long Xiaotian and Jiang Chuan were confronting each other. Other than those few forces, no one else had the right to interfere. However, many people were on Jiang Chuan's side this time. Wang Xian, is this true? At this moment, Zhang Fengying, who was standing at the side, walked towards Wang Xian and asked with a frown. "Huh?" Zhang Fengying walked out, causing many people to be slightly stunned. This was the first time many people had seen her. However, her outdated appearance and hot figure had attracted the attention of many people. "It's the first time I've seen her." Wang Xian's face revealed a hint of bitterness as he spoke to Zhang Fengying. Damn it, he was framed by this woman. There was really no way to refute it. The other party's plan was simply foolproof. "Fengying, do you know him?" Jiang Chuan's expression changed slightly when he saw her walking out. He pretended to be surprised and said, "Fengying, it's best for you to stay away from such a scumbag and arrogant guy. If he doesn't apologize to this lady today, I will definitely not let him off." As he spoke, he even pretended to be righteous and raised his head as though he was showing off his greatness. However, Zhang Fengying didn't even look at him. "I believe you." Zhang Fengying nodded at Wang Xian and looked at the vixen. After sizing her up, she said to her directly, "His looks are average, and his figure is average. He won't take a fancy to you. You're the one who lied and framed him." Jiang Chuan was stunned when he heard Zhang Fengying's words. He opened his mouth slightly, and his face was filled with astonishment. Everyone around was stunned as well. They didn't expect this beautiful lady to say such words. Who are you calling average-looking and average-looking? He pursued me for a long time, and now he abandoned me, When Hu Mei heard Zhang Fengying say that she was average-looking, she revealed an angry expression. Her face was embarrassed, and her body was trembling. "You are indeed average. He has 6 wives, and each one of them is completely incomparable to you. There is no need for him to find someone like you. To put it bluntly, you are too ugly and unqualified." As Zhang Fengying spoke, she walked to Wang Xian's side and smiled at him. Following that, she stared at Hu Mei with a cold expression. A hint of coldness flashed in her eyes. "You are a lady from the Fox clan. The Fox clan's bloodline is only at the first level of the see-through realm. I don't know why you are framing him. However, if you dare to cause trouble for no reason, be careful of your entire clan." As she spoke, a faint pressure emanated from her body. This was the pressure of a first-level see-through expert.
Meow.
Following that, the ice-fire civet cat that was hanging on her clothes jumped onto her shoulder. Its demonic eyes were sparkling. A murderous aura erupted from its body. This was also the murderous intent of an insightful emptiness realm expert. The aura that Zhang Fengying suddenly released shocked everyone around. Chapter 1296. 1296 Zhang Feng's domineering aura. You are a lady from the Fox clan. The Fox clan's bloodline is only at the first level of the see-through void tier. I don't know why you are framing him. However, if you dare to cause trouble again, be careful of your entire clan. Threatening words rang out once again. If Wang Xian threatened and Long Xiaotian threatened, everyone would understand. After all, Long Xiaotian was Wang Xian's brother. But who was this woman to him? She was as domineering and arrogant as Long Xiaotian. She directly threatened her entire family and even used her powerful aura and killing intent to target the fox. This made everyone dumbfounded. However, compared to Zhang Fengying's domineering and even a little arrogant, the strength she displayed shocked everyone. She was at least at the first level of the profound void tier, and what surprised everyone else was her pet. It looked like an ordinary kitten, but it exuded an even more terrifying power than hers. What? You? Who may sense Zhang Fengying's aura and killing intent, and her face changed dramatically. Her eyes were filled with fear. She was already somewhat regretful. She regretted agreeing to the 42nd prince and regretting framing that young man. Not only did she offend the second prince of the Light Dragon dynasty, but she also offended this powerful woman. Fengying you. Jiang Chuan looked at Zhang Fengying, who had suddenly exploded. His face was as ugly as if he had eaten shit. His eyes were wide open and filled with disbelief. What was going on? Zhang Fengying was actually defending him under such circumstances, and she even wanted to kill the entire Foxy family. Just now, he was standing on the opposite side of that young man. He was standing at the highest point of justice. Under the circumstances where all the witnesses and evidence were present, he only believed the simple words of that young man. However, Wang Xian, who was standing at the side, was speechless when he heard her words. What did she mean by, "I have 6 wives"? What did she mean by, "I don't need to find such a wife"? Although it was the truth and he was speaking up for him, Wang Xian still felt that something was amiss. Was he sure that he wasn't blackmailing him? Wow. This has 6 wives? Every one of them is beyond the reach of a seductive fox. A seductive fox looks pretty too. Oh my god, what a terrifying aura. She looks extremely young. How could she possess such terrifying strength? She is an insightful emptiness realm expert, yet another extremely young insightful emptiness realm expert. See, who is this woman? Young Master Jiang Chuan seems to know her. Could she be from the Divine Wind Academy? She seems to be a teacher from the Divine Wind Academy. This is interesting. What is the relationship between this beautiful teacher from the Divine Wind Academy and that young man? He actually dares to offend the prince of the Light Dragon dynasty and Jiang Chuan for him? When everyone saw this scene, they were instantly in an uproar. A trace of shock appeared on everyone's faces. Suddenly, a beautiful teacher from the Divine Wind Academy appeared. She did not care about Jiang Chuan helping that young man. Jiang Chuan's great-grandfather was the principal of the school. He was one of the top experts in the Luhai region. Even Long Xiaotian, who was standing at the side, looked up at Wang Xian with a face full of admiration. 6 wives? Each of them was beyond the reach of a fox. Then, look at Zhang Fengying's looks and figure. Cowhide. Role model. The 5 princes of the Light Dragon dynasty frowned as they looked at Zhang Fengying and then at Jiang Chuan, whose expression was extremely ugly. The corners of their mouths twitched slightly. It seemed that Jiang Chuan didn't even have the qualifications to compete with that young man. Under such circumstances, if that beauty was so protective of him, what was the point of pursuing her? However, the more this was the case, the happier they were. This was the only way that Jiang Chuan would be even more determined to destroy that young man. At the thought of this, a faint smile appeared on the princes' faces. No, all of you are bullying me. When Hu Mei saw that Jiang Chuan had stopped talking, and even the 42nd prince had stopped talking, a trace of fear appeared in her eyes. Feeling Zhang Fengying's aura, her somewhat broken body slowly collapsed. Sister, Hu Mei, let's go. The bad guys will eventually get their retribution. If anyone dares to bully your family members, the regiment commander will stand up for you. A woman frowned slightly when she saw the devastated Foxy. She walked over and spoke to her. Although Zhang Fengying was extremely powerful, most people still believed that it was true that Wang Xian had gotten rid of the Foxy. This was because all the evidence was right in front of them. There was no need for others to frame him in such a manner. However, the person who came out to help Wang Xian was too powerful. He was in the limelight and was considered by most to be the second prince who would ascend to the throne of the Light Dragon dynasty. He was the powerful mentor of the Divine Wind Academy. These two forces were enough to crush most of the forces present. It's Sister Bei. Yes, yes. Hu Mei nodded her head in a slightly devastated manner. Her eyes were filled with panic. This time, she was not acting but was truly afraid. With the help of the woman, she stood up and glanced at the 42nd prince. If I remember correctly, you looked at that young man twice in a row. What is your relationship with him? Girls were usually more meticulous. When Zhang Fengying saw Hu Mei looking at the 42nd prince again, her gaze was ice cold as she asked, Haha, this beauty, don't tell me you think I ordered you to do this? Let me tell you, some things cannot be said carelessly. A trace of discomfort flashed in the eyes of the 42nd prince. He instantly laughed out loud with a cold face and stared at him coldly. I've already said it, little 42, what can you do? It's not that I look down on you, but even if the 5 of you work together, I'm not afraid of you. Just as the 42nd prince finished speaking, Long Xiaotian narrowed his eyes slightly and swept his gaze over his brothers as he spoke arrogantly. Although his words were arrogant, he had the qualifications to do so. His words caused the faces of Long Xiaochen and the others to instantly darken. They stared at Long Xiaotian with faces full of anger. However, Long Xiaotian looked at them with a cold smile. When everyone around saw this scene, they sighed inwardly at the second prince. The important matter had already been settled halfway. The woman who was supporting the vixen frowned slightly. As a careful girl, she had also noticed that every time the vixen was threatened, she would look at the 42nd prince. Among them, however, she didn't think too much about it. After all, this vixen was in the same mercenary group as her. They could be considered good sisters. She supported the vixen and walked outside with an expressionless face. Some of the people around them looked at them, but didn't say anything. Their gaze swept past Zhang Fengying, who was beside Wang Xian. Their eyes were filled with shock and astonishment. Leader. At this moment, at the entrance of the back mountain, a group of people walked in front of Hu Mei and another woman. They were slightly shocked. When they saw Tang Ling, who was walking beside them, they hurriedly shouted. The Cherry Blossom Mercenary Group was considered a relatively famous mercenary group in the cemetery of demi-humans. The reason why it was famous was not because of its powerful strength, but because of the founder and members of the mercenary group. The founder, Tang Ling, was the princess of the Blood Flow Empire. She was one of the few girls on the prodigy roll and had a deep background. The members of the Cherry Blossom Mercenary Group were all girls from aristocratic families. They were all girls with outstanding strength. Chapter 1297. 1297 under the domineering aura of 1298 Zhang Feng. What's going on? At the entrance of the Heavenly Sword Sect's back mountain, Tang Ling stood beside a group of people. She looked at the bewitching fox and asked with a slight frown. Logically speaking, with her strength and background, it was absolutely impossible for her to stand at the side. But today, among this group of people, she really had to stand at the side. In the center was a slightly chubby young man. The young man had a smile on his face, and he looked very kind. Beside the young man were Tang Feng and Tang Yuan, her two older brothers. Beside her two older brothers were the slightly chubby middle-aged man's assistants. She was beside these people. Other than them, there were 7 or 8 other middle-aged young men. 2 of them were on the prodigy roll, and there were a few other young men. There were a few others who were already in their 50s or 60s, but they looked no different from youths. They were all experts who had been on the prodigy roll in the past. Their current strength was even stronger than some of the geniuses on the prodigy roll. Each and every one of them was an extremely famous character. Other than these geniuses and the former geniuses, there were also a few core disciples from the top-tier powers in the Bloodshed Empire. These top core disciples of the Blood Flow Empire had strong backgrounds. 2 of them were only slightly weaker than the Light Dragon Empire's Divine Wind Academy and the Boundless Sea Empire. The woman who was supporting the fox-like woman looked at the fox-like woman. Leader. When she saw Tang Ling, she slightly pursed her lips and her eyes flickered. Brother, you and Manager Qian can go in. Tang Ling said to Tang Feng and the others, and looked at Hu Mei. Tell me, what's the matter? Hu Mei hesitated for a moment and stammered out everything that had happened just now. What? There's really someone who dares to treat you like this. Let's go, I want to see what ability the other party has. Someone who dares to bully my people. When Tang Ling heard Hu Mei's staccato words, her expression was ice cold. Regiment Commander, no. There's no need. Hu Mei hurriedly walked over, her face slightly embarrassed. Don't worry, as long as I'm here in the Flowing Sea region, no one can do anything to you. No one dares to do anything to your clan. Tang Ling Yar's face was full of arrogance as she said, "Follow me." As she said that, she directly walked inside. Hu Mei bit her lips. Her eyes were filled with worry and hatred. Seeing that Tang Ling had already walked over, she didn't dare to disobey and followed closely behind. The woman who was supporting her just now frowned slightly. She hesitated for a moment and did not join in. Instead, she walked to the side. In the back of the mountain, the people around had not dispersed. In fact, less than 2 minutes had passed. When everyone saw Manager Qian and the Prince of Blood Flow Empire arriving, some of them quickly walked over to greet them. Who's Wang Xian? Come out. A cold voice was heard and once again attracted the attention of everyone around. When Tang Feng, Tang Yuan, and the rest heard their sister's voice, they looked over in puzzlement. Huh! Everyone around also quickly looked over. When they saw Tang Ling bringing Foxy over, everyone was slightly shocked. It's Princess Tang Ling Heir. What is she trying to do? Foxy is a member of her Cherry Blossom mercenary group. Tang Ling might want to stand up for her. That Wang Xian is going to be in trouble now. Tang Ling is very strong and has a very strong personality. When the people in the surroundings saw Tang Ling bringing Foxy back, a hint of surprise appeared in their eyes. Many of them were gloating over Tang Ling Yar's misfortune. With Tang Ling coming forward to seek justice for Foxy, even Long Xiaotian was a little afraid. Huh? Is this an unexpected surprise? Long Xiaochen and the other princes, who already had bad expressions, saw Tang Ling Yar's appearance, and their eyes sparkled. This is also the reason why I asked the Foxy woman to go. A cold look flashed in the eyes of the 42nd prince at the side. This made Long Xiaochen and the other princes wary. This 42nd brother was not simple. Jiang Chuan, who was standing at the side and his expression kept changing, raised his eyebrows slightly when he saw this scene. However, even when he saw Tang Ling appearing, his expression still didn't look good. It was because Zhang Fengming's behavior just now made him very uncomfortable. Upon hearing Tang Ling's voice, Wang Xian frowned slightly. He looked over. She naturally knew this Tang Ling, the princess of the Blood Flow Empire. Long Xiaotian looked over and his expression didn't look too good. Zhang Fengming stood quietly beside Wang Xian and looked at Tang Ling coldly. If you don't know the specific reason, don't get involved. Wang Xian didn't give her any face just because she was the princess of the Blood Flow Empire. He said coldly.
Oh? You are Wang Xian, right?
Are you very arrogant? Tang Ling followed the voice and looked at Wang Xian. Foxy is a member of my mercenary group. You bullied her and even dared to threaten her. Are you looking down on me? Now, you'd better apologize to Foxy 3 times respectfully. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude. Tang Ling stared at Wang Xian aggressively and spoke to him in a commanding tone. Princess Tang Ling, you have yet to understand the exact reason behind this matter. Can you deal with it after you've investigated it thoroughly? Long Xiaotian squeezed out a smile and said with a smile, Shut up. I'm asking you, do you want to apologize? Tang Ling spoke to Long Xiaotian coldly without giving him any face. This made Long Xiaotian's expression extremely awkward. So, what if you don't apologize? So, what if you're not polite? Zhang Fengying looked at Tang Ling, and coldly asked directly. Tang Ling was slightly stunned when she heard Zhang Fengying's words. She did not expect that someone would actually dare to speak to her like this. Moreover, he was so unyielding. Her gaze looked at Zhang Fengying. When she looked at her appearance and figure, her eyes flickered, and a faint trace of jealousy welled up in her heart. If you don't apologize, the consequences will not be something you can bear. Tang Ling Yar's gaze was ice-cold as she glared at Zhang Fengying. HMPH, then we really want to see if we can bear it. Zhang Fengying stood there and spoke with a domineering expression. You're courting death. When Tang Ling heard her words, her expression instantly turned ugly as a faint aura gushed out from her body. As a proud daughter of the heavens, she was second only to Ling Jian Yar in the entire prodigy role. She was confident that other than Ling Jian her strength could dominate the entire Luhai region. The Zhang Fengying in front of her definitely did not look much older than her. As a proud daughter of the heavens, the aura she emitted could not be underestimated. However, she was facing Zhang Fengying, who possessed the Ice-Fire Civic Cat and the entire inheritance of the 100 patrol elders. Put away your imposing manner. If you were to make a move yourself, we can bear the consequences. Zhang Fengying said faintly to Tang Ling. His tone was very calm, but he was still full of dominance and strength when facing the Blood Flow Empire's princess. When everyone around saw that Zhang Fengying was willing to offend the Blood Flow Empire's princess for the sake of Wang Xian, they were slightly shocked. At this moment, Zhang Fengying was like, even if Wang Xian had committed all sorts of evil deeds, she would still follow him. Even if Wang Xian was the enemy of the world, she would still follow him and become the enemy of the world.
8.
Chapter 1298. 1298 One collided. On the back mountain of the entire Heavenly Sword Sex Island, everyone was stunned as they watched the 2 women clash head-on. One was the Blood Flow Empire's princess, the proud daughter of the heavens on the prodigy role. The other was the mysterious and powerful Divine Wind Academy's beautiful teacher, an expert at the profound Void Realm. If one were to talk about background, it was naturally the Blood Flow Empire's Princess Tang Ling who was stronger. However, Zhang Fengying's dominance left everyone dumbfounded. What is the relationship between this beauty and that young man? To think that he offended Princess Tang Ling for him. If their relationship is average, I wouldn't believe it at all. Could it be that this beautiful teacher is also Wang Xian's old lover? It's possible. Otherwise, she wouldn't protect him like this. Zhang Fengying, who was standing beside Wang Xian, had a glint in her eyes. There were 2 situations where a woman could offend an organization that could not be provoked for a man. One of them was the relationship between a mother and a child, or a relative. The other was the relationship between a lover. Obviously, they were most likely the latter. Jiang Chuan's face turned completely black when he saw Zhang Fengying protecting that guy so forcefully. Then he felt that his head was a little muddled. This woman that he had spent so much effort to get had actually sacrificed so much for someone else. This made him feel like he was crowned a cuckold. Although this was also his narcissistic coronation. But it still made him feel extremely uncomfortable. You? Tang Ling Yar's face instantly changed when she heard Zhang Fengying's words. She felt his profound aura, and her small face instantly turned red. Which family are you from? Slowly, Tang Ling Er's expression turned cold. She stared at Zhang Fengying with murderous intent in her eyes. I don't represent any power. Zhang Fengying replied coldly. Wang Xian looked at Zhang Fengying in front of him and smiled. There are some things that Princess Tang Ling doesn't understand. Please don't make trouble without reason. He turned his gaze to Tang Ling and said faintly, Princess Tang Ling regarding the matters of your subordinates, I, Long Xiaotian, will give you an explanation in the future. I hope that you will give me some face. I will apologize to you here first. Long Xiaotian felt a little helpless when he saw Zhang Fengying and Wang Xian being so domineering. He apologized to Tang Ling Tang Ling stood there and her expression kept changing. At this moment, the surroundings were silent. Even the powerhouses at the first or second level of the see-through realm remained silent when they saw this scene. They were watching silently from the side. Ha! At the edge, Tang Feng and Tang Yuan, who had just followed her in, raised their brows slightly when they saw their sister's situation. A hint of coldness flashed in their eyes. They looked at Long Xiaotian and exchanged a glance. You guys go over there. How dare you bully our sister? Hee hee. Tang Feng and Tang Yuan gestured to the group of young men beside them and said indifferently. Yes. The proud son of heaven beside them nodded. His eyes flickered as he walked straight over. Even if it's only us, Princess Tang Ling alone, the consequences are not something you can bear. I advise you to do as the princess says. Apologize and nothing will happen. Otherwise, you will be making an enemy out of us. Just as the entire situation was in a stalemate, a young man's voice was heard. A few footsteps were heard. They raised their heads slightly and walked proudly behind Tang Ling Yar. They came to Tang Ling Yar's side and stood directly behind her. Their eyes were staring at Wang Xian, Zhang Fengying, and the rest. Their eyes were filled with coldness. These are the Heaven's Favorites on the Heaven's Favorites list. The other three have been on the Heaven's Favorites list before. Oh my god. That's Hong Shan. He used to be the second strongest Heaven's Favorite on the Heaven's Favorites list. He's already 60 years old now, but his strength has already reached the first level of the see-through void tier. I knew it. Tang Ling didn't come here by herself. How could Tang Feng, Tang Yuan, and the rest not help their little sister? This is interesting. If they want to clash with Tang Ling, neither Long Xiaotian nor that teacher from the Divine Wind Academy have the qualifications. The 5 powerful geniuses on the prodigy roll, or those who have been on the prodigy roll, plus Tang Ling, this lineup is so grand that only the bloody imperial family can bring it out. When the crowd saw the group of prodigies walking over, their eyes flashed with shock. Each and every one of these prodigies was famous. Now that they were all gathered together, it was even more shocking. Tang Ling looked at the few prodigies who were following her brothers, and her somewhat embarrassed expression slowly turned better. She took a deep breath and stared coldly at Zhang Fengying. At this moment, she no longer wanted to stand up for her seduction. Instead, she wanted this woman to apologize to her. Now, it's not just you who has to apologize to the members of the Cherry Blossom Mercenary Group. You also have to apologize to me and loudly apologize until I forgive you. Tang Ling extended her hand and pointed at Wang Xian and Zhang Fengying as she said coldly. With just the few Heaven's Favorites behind you? Zhang Fengying looked at the few young men behind Tang Ling and raised his eyebrows slightly. What? Are we not qualified enough? Hong Shan, who was at the first level of the see-through realm, who was standing behind Tang Ling, stared at Zhang Fengying indifferently. A trace of aura was locked onto Zhang Fengying's body.
Meow.
When his aura was released, the ice fire civet cat standing on Tangling Yar's shoulder let out a cry. His red and blue eyes flickered with a demonic expression, and that trace of aura instantly collapsed. The ice fire civet cat stared at Hongshan with a demonic gaze. It was as if it was ready to kill him at any moment. Hongshan's pupils constricted slightly, and his face was filled with vigilance.
Oh.
Some of the experts around also noticed the unusual behavior of the ice fire civet cat on Zhang Fengying's shoulder. All of them revealed astonished expressions. If we add in the strength behind us, are we still not qualified? A Heaven's Pride expert stared at Zhang Fengying and Wang Xian with a gloomy face. I'll give you 10 seconds. After 10 seconds, if you can't satisfy us, I'll settle this in my own way. Tangling raised her head slightly and looked down at Wang Xian and Zhang Fengying.
Sigh.
Long Xiaotian saw this scene and looked at the two princes who were looking over from afar. He sighed slightly. This matter was related to Tangling Yar's face. Tangling Yar's face still had to be taken into consideration. Brother Wang Xian, Tangling Yar's background is not something we can deal with. It's better for us to give in. Long Xiaotian whispered to him. Wang Xian raised his eyebrows. Zhang Fengying, who was at the side, wanted to say something. She patted her shoulder gently, indicating for her not to say anything. He looked at Tangling and said, I would like to see your solution. Such strong words came out of Wang Xian's mouth. Chapter 1299. People collided. He didn't give Princess Tangling any face. This Wang Xian is so arrogant. He has some qualifications to be arrogant. He has two beasts at the first level of the profound void tier under him. Arrogant. Let's not talk about the scumbag thing he did to the fox. Even if he is arrogant to Princess Tangling, I don't think this kid will live for long. Among the few Heaven's favorites behind Tangling, some of them have powerful families. Their families also have experts at the second or third level of the see-through realm. This kid is probably courting death. Good. It would be good if such an ungrateful bastard was killed. When the surrounding people saw Wang Xian's domineering and arrogant words, they were all stunned. However, following that, some of them showed disdain on their faces. Although Tangling Yar's identity could not represent the entire Bloodshed Empire, she was not someone that ordinary, insightful void martial artists could bully. If a kid dared to clash with Princess Tangling, to the end, he would definitely pay a heavy price. All right. When Tangling heard Wang Xian's domineering words, her face turned cold. However, very soon, a smile appeared on her face. Since that's the case, I will let you witness it within a day. Princess Tangling, you don't have to do anything about this. Leave it to me. A brat still dares to be arrogant towards you. If this isn't the Sword Whisper Sex Sky Swordling Yun Association, I'll let him die here right now. I'd like to see what qualifications you have to be arrogant here. The few elites behind Tangling narrowed their eyes slightly. They looked at each other, their eyes filled with killing intent. All right. Tangling nodded her head and looked at Long Xiaotian. If anyone dares to help him, they would be making an enemy out of me. Princess Tangling, don't worry. If my second brother dares to help, we will help you to stop him. Haha. Long Xiaotian laughed out loud when he heard Tangling Yar's words and said fawningly from the side, Don't worry, princess. No one can help him outside the Heavenly Sword Sex Island. The group of Heaven's favorites behind him stared coldly at Wang Xian and curled their lips in disdain. Even if a kid had a pet at the first level of the see-through void tier, even if he had the help of the lady beside him, it was still suicidal to go against Tangling, and them. To kill them, it was a piece of cake for the group of Heaven's favorites to rely on their family's influence. When Long Xiaotian heard their words, his expression changed drastically, and he looked worried. The people around him were gloating at Wang Xian, especially Long Xiaotian and the other princes. They couldn't hide the smile on their faces and almost burst out laughing. Wang Xian swept his gaze across all of them, and a hint of coldness appeared on his face. They still wanted to kill him? It was simply wishful thinking. When the time came, it was uncertain who would kill who. Whoever dares to deal with him, you will have to ask the sword in my hand. Just when the atmosphere was a little heavy, a cold voice was suddenly heard. The sudden voice caused everyone to be slightly stunned. Their faces were filled with astonishment. What was going on? At this moment, there was still someone who dared to stand up for Wang Xian and the rest. Tang Ling had just released the words that whoever dared to help him would become his enemy. The group of heaven's favorites even swore to kill him. Under such circumstances, who would dare to stand up for him? When Wang Xian heard this familiar voice, he was also slightly stunned as he looked in front of him. In front of him, a young man with a huge sword in his hand walked over. Compared to his tattered clothes from before, he had slightly long hair at this moment. He had sharp eyes and was dressed in golden clothing. In the middle of the golden clothing, there was the word, large sword. Looking at the young man walking over to him, he raised his eyebrows and a smile appeared on his face. The young man holding the sword was naturally Ren Xingchen. Behind him, there were more than 10 Sword Whisper sect disciples. These disciples stood behind him and looked at him with some respect. When they saw Ren Xingchen suddenly speaking, they were slightly shocked. However, they didn't say anything. That's Ren Xingchen. It's Ren Xingchen. It's actually him. Why is he wearing the uniform of the Heaven Sword sect? Could it be? The Heaven Sword sect is announcing that a disciple has joined today? Could it be him? Ren Xingchen has joined the Heaven Sword sect. Ren Xingchen has actually joined the Heavenly Sword sect. However, what is the relationship between this Ren Xingchen and Wang Xian? Why would he say such a thing? Everyone was shocked. Everyone understood Ren Xingchen's strength. A peerless heaven's favorite with dual attributes was able to fight against a powerhouse at the first level of the see-through realm. If it wasn't for the appearance of the nameless sword demon, he could be said to be the most dazzling existence and the strongest dark horse in this year's prodigy role. Seeing him joining the Heavenly Sword sect, everyone was a little surprised. What was even more surprising was that under everyone's gaze, he walked straight towards Wang Xian. However, at the next moment, everyone was dumbfounded. Ren Xingchen walked to Wang Xian's side and bowed respectfully. He bowed heavily. When everyone saw this scene, they were a little dumbfounded. Ren Xingchen was a peerless heaven's favorite of the current generation. He was a dual-attributed genius who was comparable to a powerhouse at the first level of the see-through void stage. Now he was actually bowing respectfully to that young man. This bowing contained a lot of things. When Wang Xian saw Ren Xingchen walking over, a faint smile appeared on his face. Although this Ren Xingchen was rather stubborn, he was still more obedient. Ling Jian should be the one who relayed his words to him when he joined the Heavenly Sword sect. He had also obtained his true identity from Ling Jian.
Clang.
Ren Xingchen stood beside Wang Xian. The huge sword in his hand let out a cold sound. The long sword in his hand was pointed straight at Tang Ling Yar's position. This sword finger caused everyone to reveal a look of horror. You bunch of trash want to deal with him. Ren Xingchen's cold voice came from his mouth. His sword covered Tang Ling and all the heaven's favorites behind him. His words caused Tang Ling and the other heaven's favorites behind him to have a drastic change in expression. Their expressions instantly turned gloomy and cold. A moment ago, they were still saying that whoever dared to help him would become their enemy. No one could save such words. The next moment, Ren Xingchen rushed over and pointed his fierce long sword at him. This matter was a little too serious. In particular, everyone looked at Ren Xingchen's clothes. A few days ago, the Heavenly Sword sect had sent news that a new disciple would be announced at the Heavenly Sword Lingyun meet today. This disciple was obviously Ren Xingchen. Ren Xingqian's strength and talent definitely belonged to the most outstanding and core disciple of the entire Heavenly Sword sect. Now, Ren Xingqian, who was ranked second on the prodigy roll, was standing directly beside that young man to confront Tang Ling. What was he trying to do? A confrontation between the Blood Flow Empire and the Heavenly Sword sect?
A.
Chapter 1300. 1300 collided. This is crazy. What is the relationship between Ren Xingqian and that young man? He actually bowed directly to that young man and even pointed his greatsword at Tang Ling, and the others. Who knows? Looking at the situation, it's completely a head-on clash. Ren Xingqian is a peerless Heaven's Pride, and there aren't many Heaven's Pride experts who can compare to him. The few Heaven's Pride experts behind Princess Tang Ling are completely unqualified to compare to him. The most important thing is his identity. Heaven's Sword Sect. A core disciple of Heaven's Sword Sect had a conflict with the Princess of the Blood Flow Empire? What is he trying to do? For a young man, first it was the second prince of the Light Dragon Empire, Long Xiaotian, then the mentor of the Divine Wind Academy, Zhang Fengying, and now it's the peerless Heaven's favorite of Heaven's Sword Sect, Ren Xingqian. Everyone looked at Ren Xingqian, who was standing beside Wang Xian in a daze. Such a peerless prodigy actually offended Tang Ling, of the Bloodshed Empire, for a young man. Regardless of the reason, Ren Xingqian was indeed qualified to confront Tang Ling head-on. With the current strength of the Heaven Sword Sect, even the Bloodshed Empire was fearful of them. Ren Xingqian, the core disciple of the Heaven Sword Sect, was not inferior to the princess of the Bloodshed Empire in terms of status. In fact, he was even slightly stronger, because Ren Xingqian's future was not something Tang Ling could compare to. And the Blood Flow Empire had hundreds of princes and princesses. Ren Xingqian, you have to stand up for this guy. Tang Ling looked at Ren Xingqian's clothes, and her expression changed slightly. She stared at him and said with embarrassment, Tang Ling, watch your words. Just based on the group of trash behind you, if you want to deal with him, ask the sword in my hand whether it will agree or not. If you don't have the strength, then get lost. Ren Xingqian's gaze was as cold as an ice-cold sword as he coldly said to them. He didn't give them any face at all. He also had the strength to look down on Tang Ling, and the group of Heaven's Pride experts. The elites standing behind Tang Ling looked at the domineering Ren Xingqian with an extremely ugly expression. They opened their mouths, wanting to retort. But in front of his powerful strength, they really didn't dare. Most importantly, the other party was a disciple of the Heavenly Sword Sect. Today's Heavenly Sword Lingyun gathering, all the forces in the Luhai region came to congratulate him, including the Blood Flow Empire. It was because of the breakthrough in the strength of the sect master of the Heavenly Sword Sect. The breakthrough in the strength of the sect master of the Heaven Sword Sect had raised the status of the entire Heaven Sword Sect's disciples by a level. In the past, they were on the same level as the Divine Wind Academy of the Light Dragon Empire. Now, they were no longer a match for the Heaven Sword Sect. The people who are defending that Wang Xian are all more overbearing and arrogant than the last one. Yeah, that beauty just now didn't give Tang Ling any face at all. If it weren't for a few Heaven's favorites coming over, Tang Ling would have lost face. Now that Ren Xingqian is here, he's not giving them any face at all. A conflict between a disciple of the Sky Sword Sect and the princess of the Blood Flow Empire. This won't cause an even bigger dispute, right? When the surrounding people saw this scene, they sucked in a breath of cold air. What happened today was really out of everyone's expectations. First, it was the competition between the princes of the Light Dragon Dynasty, then Jiang Chuan's participation, and finally, it involved the two top forces in the Luhai region. Everyone present could only watch silently. The reason for all of this came from a girl. Come, let's go. Manager Qian will go first. At the side, Tang Feng and Tang Yuan had solemn expressions on their faces when they saw Ren Xingqian suddenly appear. They spoke to Manager Qian and walked straight towards Tang Ling. As guests of your Heavenly Sword sect, is this how you treat your guests? Tang Feng and Tang Yuan walked over and looked coldly at Ren Xingqian, who was holding a large sword in his hand. Two princes. This time, the matter has blown up. When some people saw them walking over, their eyes sparkled as they quietly stood at the side and watched. You also know that this is the Heavenly Sword sect's territory. You're the ones who directly threatened our friends here. You're the ones who were unreasonable in the first place. How can there be guests like you? When Ren Xingqian saw Tang Feng and Tang Yuan walking over, his face didn't have the slightest fluctuation. If he didn't dare to humiliate my subordinates, would I have caused trouble for him? Tang Ling stared at Ren Xingqian with a somewhat embarrassed expression as she coldly said, "You don't even know the truth of the matter, yet you're listening to her one-sided story. You're really stupid." Zhang Fengming looked at Tang Ling, and said disdainfully, "You..." Tang Ling stared at Zhang Fengming, her eyes filled with killing intent. "Ren Xingqian, I don't know what relationship that kid has with you, but you're not giving face to our bloodshed empire. Aren't you being too arrogant?" Tang Feng narrowed his eyes slightly and stared coldly at Ren Xingqian. "Ling Jian, is here. Some disciples of the Heavenly Sword sect and Ling Jian are here. Look at Ling Jian, Oh my god, she's so beautiful, so beautiful. Yeah, she's simply too beautiful. In the past, Ling Jian basically wore that white shirt. Now, wow, it's pink. Oh my god, she's simply too beautiful. This goddess in the past, when Ling Jian wasn't dressed up, there weren't many people who could compare to her. Now that she's slightly dressed up, she's even more beautiful. Look at the disposition of goddess Ling Jian. She seems to have undergone a huge change. In the past, she was incomparably cold. Now, she looks a little sweet." Right at this moment, sounds of exclamations could be heard from outside. Tang Feng, Tang Yuan, and the others who were standing in the middle were slightly taken aback. As for the dispute, everyone stopped. Everyone looked outside, and when they saw the beauty in the pink dress, they were all stunned. A pink dress, a little makeup. She looked incomparably exquisite, and her perfect figure caused the eyes of all the men present to light up slightly. Even the girls present felt a little ashamed of their inferiority when they looked at Ling Jian. However, what surprised everyone was that Ling Jian actually wore a pink dress. This was a huge difference from their impression of the ice-cold woman. Ling Jian has changed so much to actually wear a pink dress and look much more cheerful. It should be because of his father. It should be a true goddess. With Ling Jian's current status, even a prince of the Blood Flow Empire can't compare to her, right? Unless it's a prince who has inherited the throne, he can't compare to her. The rest are all inferior. Everyone's gaze was attracted over. As they looked at Ling Jian, each of their faces revealed an astonished expression. This goddess was the true second generation of the Flowing Sea region. Not long ago, her father directly killed several profound void martial experts of the vast empire and killed the prince who was attacking her. Chapter 1301. 1301 was a man that even a goddess couldn't have. Apart from the sect master of the Heavenly Sword sect using his tyrannical strength to break into the Hanhai dynasty's imperial city, there was another matter that shocked many people. Back then, on the day that Ling Jian was besieged, the Heavenly Sword sect disciples who didn't lend a helping hand were all crippled of their cultivation. This included a very outstanding core disciple of the Heavenly Sword sect who had a great relationship with the sect master of the Heavenly Sword sect. Now, there were rumors among the Heavenly Sword sect disciples that the sect master's breakthrough was because he had broken through the demonic barrier from more than 10 years ago. He had comprehended a powerful guardian Dharma idol. As for who the guardian Dharma idol was, everyone was very clear. The Heavenly Sword sect had once sent 20 profound void martial experts to bring Ling Jian back, but in the end, she had directly rejected them, not giving them any face at all. Later on, the sect master of the Heavenly Sword sect had come personally. Some people saw that the first time, he had been directly rejected by Ling Jian's ER. Later on, the sect master of the Heavenly Sword sect used some unknown method to move his daughter, and only then did he bring her back to his side. The entire Heavenly Sword sect knew what kind of status Ling Jian currently held in the Heavenly Sword sect. No one could compare to her. Looking at the beautiful Ling Jian walking over, Manager Qian's eyes lit up, revealing a heated expression. Many of the men around him were the same. If they could get this woman, they would be able to save thousands of years of effort. To be able to leap to become the top existence in the entire Luhai region. Thank you all for being able to participate in today's Heavenly Sword Lingyun meet. This time, we are mainly inviting the elite disciples of the younger generation. Of course, they're also experts. Our Sky Sword sect has no other intentions. We just want to announce two things. First, the young miss of our Sky Sword sect has returned. Second, Ren Xingqian will join our Sky Sword sect and become a core disciple of the Sky Sword sect. Ling Jian walked to the front and stopped. Beside him, an elder stood by her side and spoke to everyone. Ling Jian who was standing beside him, did not listen to the old man. Her gaze swept across the entire venue. When she saw Wang Xian, her eyes lit up slightly. Visitors are guests. I will go over to thank everyone one by one in a while. The old man spoke for more than 10 sentences before he ended the conversation. Even a powerhouse at level 4 of the see-through void tier of the Heavenly Sword sect addressed Ling Jian as Miss. This position is too high. When everyone on the back mountain of the Heavenly Sword sect heard the old man addressing Ling Jian their faces revealed a look of surprise. A 4th-rank profound void martial expert was already a top-tier expert in the Flowing Sea region. His status was extremely noble. Even the kings of some countries only had this level of cultivation. Even so, for such an expert to address Ling Jian as Miss, one could imagine her status in the Heavenly Sword sect. However, what everyone didn't know was that Ling Jian was able to obtain her current status not only because of her father's unlimited love. There was also her own strength. Now, the upper echelons of the Heavenly Sword sect all knew that Ling Jian had obtained a terrifying opportunity. In the future, her achievements were very likely to be above that of the sect leader. Miss, do you want to get acquainted with some disciples? After the old man finished speaking, he asked Ling Jian in a low voice. I'm going to meet a friend. Ling Jian shook her head with a smile on her face as she walked straight ahead. Oh. The old man was slightly stunned as he thought of the words of the Grand Elder. His eyes flickered, and he did not bother about it anymore. Goddess Ling Jian, you are simply too beautiful. Can I treat you to a cup of wine? Ling Jian walked forward. Shopkeeper Qian, who was standing not too far away, had a fiery look in his eyes as he walked over with 2 cups of wine in his hands. Some of those who knew Shopkeeper Qian had a look of shock on their faces. However, Ling Jian acted as though he did not see him as he walked past him. This caused Shopkeeper Qian's face to instantly freeze up as his expression changed slightly. Some of the people who noticed this were also slightly stunned. However, they soon started to laugh secretly. Goddess Ling Jian doesn't know your identity as Manager Qian. Manager Qian took a deep breath and allowed his facial expression to return to normal. He looked at Ling Jian's figure with some displeasure. I'm a little late. If I had known earlier, I would have come with Brother Wang Xian and Long Xiaotian. At this moment, a well-dressed young man who had just entered the island of the Heavenly Sword sect said plainly. There was a hint of arrogance on his face. This temperament would make many young men feel inferior. Young master it's not too late. A few insightful emptiness realm experts from the Yen clan said fawningly from the side. The young man nodded his head indifferently, his gaze unwavering. This was an innate nobility, not posturing. Goddess Ling Jian, how do you do? Ling Jian, how do you do? In the conference hall at the back mountain of the island, Ling Jian walked in. Many young men looked at her beautiful figure and could not help but greet her. Ling Jian nodded her head indifferently, her eyes never leaving the area in front of her. Who is Ling Jian looking for? Ren Xingchen? Ren Xingchen and Ling Jian seem to have known each other not too long ago.
Could it be that they...
This is really possible. A perfect match, but why is my heart broken? My goddess. Some people saw Ling Jian walking towards Ren Xingchen without paying any attention to anyone. Their hearts ached as they guessed. At Ren Xingchen's side, Ling Jian appearance made Tang Ling, Tang Feng, and the others no longer oppose her. After all, they didn't come here today to make enemies. When they saw Ling Jian walking over, Tang Feng and Tang Yuan's eyes flashed with astonishment. Under everyone's gaze, when everyone thought that Ling Jian was about to walk to Ren Xingchen's side, in the end, she directly ignored Ren Xingchen. Ling Jian didn't even glance at Ren Xingchen and continued to take a few steps forward. In the end, she stayed by Wang Xian's side. However, the next moment, everyone widened their eyes. How is it? Am I pretty? They saw Ling Jian standing in front of Wang Xian. She slightly loosened her dress and revealed a happy smile on her face. Wang Xian stood there and looked at Ling Jian, who was wearing a pink dress. He was filled with surprise. Ling Jian walked towards him. He was not surprised at all. After all, this beauty who had a problem with her brain had once confessed to him. Furthermore, he had rejected her. However, Ling Jian had undergone a huge change compared to the past. In the past, he was extremely cold. His cold appearance was like a sword. Now, he was much more open-minded and feminine, especially with his pink dress. You are much prettier and more cheerful. However, I don't want you. You shouldn't have any other thoughts. I'm a man that you can't have. Wang Xian looked at Ling Jian's expectant gaze and said with a serious expression. The moment he said that, everyone's jaws dropped. Chapter 1302. 1302 Get Lost. You are much prettier and more cheerful. However, I don't want you. It's better if you don't have any other thoughts. I'm a man that you can't have. When these words were said, the lively surroundings became quiet. Everyone looked at Wang Xian in astonishment. They looked at his serious face, as if he wasn't joking. However, Ling Jian, who was standing beside Wang Xian, was a little disappointed. Didn't you say that I'm not pretty enough and that you don't like my cold appearance? Am I not pretty enough now? Furthermore, do I still look cold now? Ling Jian looked at Wang Xian and said in a low voice filled with disappointment. When Wang Xian heard her words, his body stiffened slightly. He shook his head slightly and didn't say anything else. Is she one of the 6 wives you mentioned? Do you like this? When Ling Jian saw that Wang Xian didn't reply, she frowned slightly and looked at Zhang Fengying, who was beside her. Her words were a little shocking. I'm not. He's not a good person. You better be careful. When Zhang Fengying saw Ling Jian, who suddenly appeared, she frowned and glanced at Wang Xian with a frosty expression. Her eyes were filled with disdain and disdain. I didn't expect you to have so many confidants. It has only been a short while since we arrived at the tomb of the transvestite, and you have already let such a beautiful woman follow you. As she spoke, her words were filled with sarcasm. However, anyone could tell that this woman was jealous. Everyone around was completely stunned. They looked at the conversation between the 3 of them in a daze. This was fucking dog food. Moreover, it was the dog food that countless men envied. Everyone looked at Wang Xian. If eyes could kill, he would be dead already. Who is this guy? What did he do to make Ling Jian confess to him without caring about her status? Furthermore, that guy actually rejected him. Oh my god, what is going on? That guy. Fuck, how could he do this? Oh my god. How could such a scumbag be liked by two goddesses? What did he do? Isn't he Long Xiaotian's brother? How could he be so awesome? Exactly. How could such a scumbag who abandoned his seductive charm be liked by goddess Ling Jian? This. No wonder Rin Xingqian is so respectful to him. It's because of Ling Jian. I really hope Tang Yuan and Tang Feng can get rid of this fellow. The corners of the mouths of the surrounding youths twitched, and their eyes turned slightly red. This was Ling Jian Yar's pursuit. What right did he have? However, what shocked them even more was that fellow actually rejected Ling Jian Yar's confession. Moreover, listening to their conversation, this was not the first time he had rejected. Oh my god, even such a goddess rejected him. Huh? Ling Jian was frowning when she heard the voices around her. Her eyes revealed a cold expression. What are you saying? Her cold gaze looked at the young man who said the last sentence. The young man who said that he hoped Tang Feng and Tang Yuan could kill Wang Xian. The young man felt Ling Jian Yar's cold gaze, and his breathing stopped. He squeezed out a wailing smile on his face. Miss, just now. A disciple of the Heavenly Sword sect told her what had happened in a low voice. This caused Ling Jian Yar's face to slowly turn cold. She looked ahead and swept her gaze across Tang Ling, Tang Feng, and the rest. Finally, her gaze landed on the fox. With your looks, you are not qualified to tempt Wang Xian, or even abandon you. I don't know why you want to frame her. I will investigate this matter clearly. At that time, you will not be the only one who will be in trouble. Your family will also be in trouble. Ling Jian stared at the fox-like woman coldly and said directly, I. The fox-like woman looked at Ling Jian Yar's tone that carried a hint of killing intent. She could not help but shed tears once again. She, who had already broken down once again saw despair. Oh! Suddenly, the fox-like woman took 2 quick breaths. She rolled her eyes and fainted. She was dealt a blow that was dozens of times stronger than her. She even threatened to exterminate her entire clan, causing her to faint. Forget it. Wang Xian shook his head at Ling Jian when he saw her frosty expression. Hu Mei was merely a chess piece. The main culprits were the few princes of the Guanlong Empire. Wang Xian and Long Xiaotian would soon let these few princes know what despair was. In the territory of the Heavenly Sword sect, no one can frame you or bully you. They don't have the strength and qualifications to do so. Ling Jian looked at Wang Xian and returned to her usual cold expression. After she finished speaking, she looked at Tang Ling and said, "Bring your men and get out of here immediately. If Wang Xian is injured in the future, I will definitely look for you." Ling Jian Yar's unscrupulous words stunned everyone. Even Tang Ling Tang Feng, and Tang Yuan were stunned, not to mention the group of heaven's favorites behind her. Unscrupulous, too unscrupulous. She was the daughter of the sect leader of the Heaven's Sword sect. Now, she actually disregarded the big picture and directly provoked the princess of the Bloodshed Empire for a man. An ordinary person would definitely not do such a reckless thing. But Ling Jian did it. Not only did she do it, she even did it thoroughly. She directly told Tang Ling and the other elites behind her to scram. If this were to spread, where would Tang Ling Yar's face be? You, Ling Jian do you know what you're saying? When Tang Ling heard Ling Jian's words, she was so angry that her body was trembling. She actually wanted her to get out. She was the princess of the Blood Flow Empire, and today, she was invited to the Heavenly Sword sect's Lingyun gathering. This was giving face to the Heavenly Sword sect. Now, she actually wanted her to get out. If she was really kicked out, then where would her face go in the future? Even the face of the blood flow empire wouldn't look good. Your subordinates are framing him, yet you still dare to threaten him here. Do you really think this place is your bloody dynasty? I want you all to get out. Didn't you hear me? Ling Jian'er stared at Tang Linger and said coldly once again. This caused Tang Linger's face to turn from red to white, and then from white to green. I want her to get out. I actually want her to get out. Looking at Ling Jian'er's cold expression, she was almost driven mad with anger. Everyone around stared blankly. This Ling Jian'er was actually so overbearing for a man, it was simply, Ling Jian'er, don't go too far. Don't think that just because you are sect leader Ling's daughter, you dare to humiliate us. Don't think that just because your father has broken through, our blood flow empire will be afraid of you. Tang Feng and Tang Yuan looked at Ling Jian'er with ashen faces. Just now, Ling Jian'er's appearance, Tang Ling-er, and the others had already let it go. They didn't expect that as the host, Ling Jian'er would actually be so overbearing as to ask Tang Ling-er to get lost. Did she really think that blood flow empire was easy to bully? Chapter 1303. 1303 Manager Qian of the third largest trading company in the world, 1304. Hiss this. Tang Feng, Tang Yuan, and the rest have spoken. What's going on? If we don't handle this properly today, it might affect the relationship between the Blood Flow Empire and the Heavenly Sword Sect. It might even cause a huge dispute. Who would have thought that a fox and that Wang Xian would actually cause such a huge incident? Judging from the confessions of the teachers of the Divine Wind Academy, Zhang Fengying and Ling Jian'er, that Wang Xian might really have been framed. Framed? Then why did the vixen frame him? However, he didn't even accept Ling Jian'er and that Zhang Fengying. He shouldn't have taken a fancy to the vixen. It's troublesome now. If they start a dispute, it will cause a huge sensation. When Tang Feng and Tang Yuan walked out and stared at Ling Jian'er with ugly expressions, everyone could not help but take in a breath of cold air. The eyes of everyone in the surroundings flickered as they looked over. A few experts from the Heavenly Sword Sect also looked over. When they saw this scene, they shook their heads helplessly. They did not go over. Everything would be handled according to how happy their young miss was. Although today's matter would affect their relationship with the Blood Flow Empire, it would not affect them too much. It was impossible for two powerful factions to start a war because of the conflict between the younger generation. No matter who it is, if they dare to say that they want to kill him or bully him, they will have to pay the price. It is already good enough for them to get lost. I did not say that killing them is already giving face to your Blood Flow Empire. Ling Jian'er stared coldly at Tang Feng and Tang Yuan. She did not relent just because of their words. This caused Tang Feng, Tang Yuan, and Tang Ling-yar's expressions to turn extremely ugly. Their eyes flickered as they stared at her. Are the few of you going to get lost on your own, or do you want me to help you get lost? Rin Xingqian held a huge sword in his hand. His gaze was filled with killing intent as he stared at Tang Ling-er and the group of Heaven's Pride experts behind him. He immediately threatened them. Arrogant. Each of them was more arrogant than the last. Regardless of whether you are a princess, a prince, or a Heaven's favorite, as long as you provoke Wang Xian, you must get out immediately. Wang Xian looked at Ling Jian'er and Rin Xingqian speechlessly. The personalities of these two people really made him speechless. However, Wang Xian was slightly gratified towards them. It was not in vain for him to have saved their lives back then. Such a friend could be made. Good. Ling Jian'er, the Bloodshed Empire, will remember what happened to your Heavenly Sword Sect today. Tang Ling-er glared at Ling Jian'er angrily. This was the first time she was chased out directly by someone. This was the first time in the entire Luhai region. She would definitely return the humiliation today. Tang Feng and Tang Yuan took a deep breath when they saw Ling Jian'er's domineering manner. A cold glint flashed in their eyes. They were a little unwilling to leave this place like this. However, facing the current Heavenly Sword sect, they were no longer afraid of the Blood Flow Empire's forces. They were no longer afraid of the other party when they brought out their strength. The two of them looked at each other and looked towards the back. How disappointing. Manager Qian was displeased when he saw the two of them looking at him. He had originally planned to get to know more forces in the Luhai region through Tang Feng and the others. However, he didn't expect such a thing to happen. What made him even angrier was that Ling Jian completely ignored him when he toasted to Ling Jian just now. He even walked to the side of the young man and confessed to him. This made his expression extremely ugly. He was a disciple of the Qian family of the third largest trading company in the world, but he was actually ignored by a lady from a faction in the Luhai region. This made him feel extremely humiliated. As a result, his heart was filled with a faint killing intent towards Wang Xian. Harmony, Miss Ling Jian Er. Harmony begets wealth. The cause of this matter is that your friend abandoned Miss Tang Ling Yar's subordinate, and her subordinate was just a little angry. Nothing much happened? Why did he chase Miss Tang Ling out? This isn't good. Since he abandoned a woman, then it doesn't matter if he apologizes to her. As for Miss Tang Ling it's also for the good of her subordinate. This matter is just an apology from that young man. Simply let him apologize to Miss Tang Ling and this matter will be over. The slightly chubby young man, shopkeeper Qian, walked forward with a smile on his face and said indifferently. Seeing the slightly chubby young man suddenly walk forward and hearing his words, the surrounding people were slightly stunned. Many people's pupils constricted slightly. Oh, that young man is? The elder from the Heavenly Sword sect looked at shopkeeper Qian and looked at the middle-aged man beside him with a surprised expression. The middle-aged man next to him looked at shopkeeper Qian's figure with a slightly unpleasant expression. Elder, this is a bit troublesome. Shopkeeper Qian is the third trading company in the world in charge of the Flowing Sea region. He has a deep background and is not someone that any faction in the Flowing Sea region can provoke. The middle-aged man said with a grave expression as he looked at shopkeeper Qian, who was walking toward the center. The third trading firm in the world. The elder from the Sky Sword sect was slightly startled as he slowly frowned. For the third trading firm in the world to be able to achieve such a feat, it was not an ordinary faction. In reality, the third trading firm in the world represented an allied faction. The third trading firm in the world was controlled by the Qian family, which was famous for doing business. However, in reality, behind the Qian family, there were a few terrifying factions as shareholders. The Qian family had only reached its current stage thanks to the support of the several terrifying factions behind it. Any of the factions behind the Qian family could annihilate all of the factions in the Flowing Sea region. They absolutely couldn't afford to provoke them. The old man hesitated for a moment, frowning as he looked at shopkeeper Qian. He had already made some decisions in his heart. They could not afford to offend such a force. They could not afford to offend Manager Qian. Is it Manager Qian? It's him, the person in charge of the Luhai district of the third largest trading company in the world. Hiss, Manager Qian. Everyone has overlooked such a huge figure. What does Manager Qian mean? He wants Wang Xian to apologize to Tang Ling. He wants to help the people of the Bloodshed Empire, Tang Feng, and the rest. The third largest trading company in the world is a businessman. The Blood Flow Empire is very important to them. Of course, they have to speak up for Tang Feng and the rest. This is troublesome. This Manager Qian is not someone the Heavenly Sword sect can afford to offend. Some of the people around who knew about Manager Qian's background looked at him in surprise. Their eyes were sparkling. From his 3 sentences just now, it was obvious that he wanted to help Tang Feng and the rest. Furthermore, he did not agree to kick Tang Ling and the rest out. However, Manager Qian didn't offend the Death Heaven Sword sect. He just wanted that young man to apologize. Seeing Manager Qian walking over, Tang Feng, Tang Yuan, and the rest revealed a faint smile. They looked at Ling Jian, and narrowed their eyes slightly. Ling Jian, Wang Xian beside you. After apologizing, we will leave your Heaven Sword sect. To be honest, our blood flow empire disdains your Heaven Sword sect. We are only here to give you face. Since you guys don't give us face, there's no need for us to accompany you guys here. Turning the tables. The words of the two of them meant that it wasn't your Heavenly Sword sect that chased us out. You guys don't have the right to chase us out. We are the ones who look down on us here. If it was an insult for Ling Jian to ask them to scram, then it was also an insult for them to leave with disdain. Chapter 1304. 1304 was tough. On the island of the Heavenly Sword sect, in the venue of the Heavenly Sword Lingyun's meeting, the atmosphere changed a little after Manager Qian appeared. Manager Qian's identity, the strength and background of the third trading company in the world, made everyone present extremely fearful. Even the Heavenly Sword sect and the Bloodshed Empire had to treat him with respect. Especially now, Manager Qian came to speak up for the Bloodshed Empire at this time. Although he said that it was not good to chase Tang Ling out, Wang Xian should apologize to Tang Ling. In fact, what he meant was that he could not chase Tang Ling out. He wanted Wang Xian to apologize to Tang Ling. As a businessman, he spoke very tactfully, but everyone knew what he meant. Everyone looked at the smiling Manager Qian and would not ignore him. Tang Feng and Tang Yuan were obviously using this opportunity to say that the guest was the host. The atmosphere was slightly solemn. Shopkeeper Qian looked at Ling Jian with a smile. Tang Feng, Tang Yuan, and Tang Ling also stared at Ling Jian with cold expressions. Who are you? Do you have the right to speak here? I think you should scram with them. Ling Jian looked at Shopkeeper Qian and a cold expression flashed across her eyes. Her expression was slightly unsightly as she said directly, "Oh." Ling Jian's words caused everyone in the surroundings to be slightly stunned as they looked at Shopkeeper Qian in astonishment. Did she do this on purpose, or did she really not know his identity? Ling Jian did not know Shopkeeper Qian's identity in the past, but just now, from the discussions around her, she also knew that this Shopkeeper Qian's identity was extraordinary. Perhaps he was not someone that their Heavenly Sword sect could provoke. But she pretended not to know his identity and coldly questioned him. You? When Shopkeeper Qian heard Ling Jian's domineering words, the smile on his face instantly disappeared. He stared at Ling Jian with an embarrassed expression, his eyes flickering. Young lady, watch your words. Don't bring undeserved disaster to your Heavenly Sword sect. As he spoke, he slowly narrowed his eyes and coldly said, Ling Jian, Shopkeeper Qian is the person in charge of the world's third largest trading company, Flowing Sea Region. You'd better be careful when you speak to Shopkeeper Qian. Don't think that just because your father broke through, he can do as he pleases and not put anyone in his eyes. Tang Feng took 2 steps closer to Shopkeeper Qian and coldly said, Humph. Ling Jian coldly snorted. Her expression was somewhat unsightly as she turned her face to the side. Manager Qian, I'm sorry. Our miss doesn't know your identity. Please forgive us for taking such a risk. The elder from the Heavenly Sword sect immediately walked over and said with an apologetic smile on his face, Your miss doesn't know how to be polite. Then teach her more. Manager Qian looked at the elder expressionlessly and said coldly, Yes, yes. The elder from the Heavenly Sword sect didn't dare to offend her and hurriedly said. He looked at Ling Jian, indicating for her not to speak. Coming to the Heavenly Sword Lingyun conference is giving face to your Heavenly Sword sect. It's not appropriate for you to treat Miss Tang Ling, and the others like this. As a fair and impartial person, you can just apologize to Miss Tang Ling, and the others. Manager Qian stood there and said indifferently. He looked high and mighty, with his head slightly raised. Even if this was the territory of the Sky Sword sect. However, with his background, he did have the qualifications. Manager Qian has stepped out to help Tang Ling, and the rest. This time, that young man is going to apologize. That Wang Xian is really unlucky. With so many people protecting him, he still has to apologize. What bad luck. He deserves it. I think it would be best if he was killed. Humph. When the crowd heard Manager Qian's words, a smile appeared on their faces. Some of the young men wanted to kill this fellow, who was loved by the two goddesses. Who do you think you are? Let me apologize to them. However, what shocked everyone was a cold voice. Wang Xian looked at Manager Qian, who was standing there proudly. A hint of killing intent flashed in his eyes. He glanced at the two underlings beside Manager Qian. They were only at the second level of the see-through realm. Such strength was not weak in the demi-human graveyard, but it was definitely not invincible. Manager Qian dared to be so unbridled and did not put the Heaven Sword sect in his eyes. It was just his background. However, if he really provoked Wang Xian, so what if he killed him? Moreover, he would use his identity as the nameless sword demon to kill him. No one would be able to find him. Therefore, Wang Xian wasn't afraid of Manager Qian at all. What? This? When Wang Xian had just finished speaking, everyone was slightly stunned. They looked at Wang Xian in disbelief. Even Long Xiaotian and the elder from the Heavenly Sword sect who were standing at the side opened their mouths slightly and looked at Wang Xian in astonishment. Hiss, is this guy courting death with his strength? This is simply courting death. Does he not know the meaning of death? How dare he say that to Manager Qian, who gave him the courage? When the crowd heard his words, they stared at Wang Xian with widened eyes and disgust in a low voice. Impudent. You're courting death. I think you're tired of living. Before Manager Qian could speak, Tang Feng, who was at the side, shouted angrily at Wang Xian with a face full of killing intent. You're courting death.
How dare you speak to Manager Qian like that?
I think you don't want to live for even a second. When the few princes from the Guanglong dynasty heard Wang Xian's words, a hint of excitement flashed across their eyes. They immediately stood up and shouted. They glared at Wang Xian with eyes filled with killing intent. Haha, who do I think I am? Very good, very good. You are the first person who dares to speak to me like this since I came here. When Manager Qian heard Wang Xian's words, he suddenly burst into laughter. Kill him for me. All of a sudden, his laughter came to an abrupt end. He said those 5 words with a cold expression. Kill him. The two powerhouses standing beside him instantly emitted a violent murderous aura. The strength of the second level of the see-through realm was directly emitted. With a move of their arms, a weapon appeared in their hands. They were ready to attack at any time. Even if it was the territory of the Heaven Sword sect, they didn't have any scruples. Seeing the two powerhouses beside Manager Qian suddenly preparing to attack, everyone around them changed their expression slightly. All of you stop. Ling Jian Yar's expression changed slightly. She quickly stood beside Wang Xian and stared at Manager Qian in embarrassment. There's no need. Wang Xian pulled her to the side and swept his gaze across Manager Qian and the two experts. He swept his gaze across the few princes of the Dragon Dynasty, Tang Feng, Tang Ling, and the others. A hint of killing intent flashed across his eyes. Since this group of people was trying every means to deal with him tonight, he might as well kill his way back. At most, he would become wretched for the next period of time. Wang Xian, was really not afraid of anyone. A staff appeared in Zhang Fengying's hand. She did not speak, but she had already expressed her determination. Rin Xingchen narrowed his eyes slightly and fixed his gaze on shopkeeper Qian. Even Ling Jian Yar's body shimmered with a metallic luster. Without the slightest hesitation. Chapter 1305. 1305 No killed him forcefully. Manager Qian, please calm down. Please calm down. If there's anything that we need to settle in the future, please give our Heavenly Sword sect some face. The old man from the Heavenly Sword sect had a slight change of expression when he saw this scene. He quickly walked up to Manager Qian, cupped his fists, and said respectfully, "This." When the surrounding people saw that Wang Xian and the people beside him actually dared to confront Manager Qian, their expressions changed drastically. They hurriedly took a few steps back. They were really afraid of a direct fight. "Manager Qian, please calm down. Let's have a good talk." Long Xiaotian, who was standing behind Wang Xian, took a few steps forward with a bitter look on his face. He bowed and lowered his posture. What's going on?" At this moment, at the entrance of the back mountain, He Yuan, who was a little late, looked at the gathered people with a curious expression on his face. "I don't know. There should be some kind of activity, right? Young Master He, let's go and take a look." A few experts from the Yen clan said with smiles on their faces. "And let's go and take a look. I heard that Ling Jian from the Heavenly Sword sect is quite beautiful. She is a heroine among women. Let's go and get to know her." He Yuan nodded his head indifferently and walked forward. "Haha, it's not that I don't want to give you guys face. It's that someone doesn't want to give me face." Before He Yuan walked in, a voice was heard, causing him to be slightly stunned. In the middle of the room, Manager Qian didn't even glance at the old man from the Heavenly Sword sect or Long Xiaotian. He stared coldly at Wang Xian and the rest. "Let me tell you guys. Now, I will definitely kill this kid. Anyone who dares to help him will be considered an enemy of the third trading company in the world. When the time comes, don't blame me for being ruthless." As he spoke, his gaze swept across Ling Jian, Ren Xingqian, and Zhang Fengying. Finally, his gaze landed on Wang Xian. "I just want you to apologize. You don't know what's good for you, and dare to call me a nobody. Interesting. I hope you can still be arrogant in a while." Manager Qian narrowed his eyes slightly. His face was still full of smiles as he said faintly, "Make your move. Anyone who dares to stop me, kill them all." Finally, he gave a loud shout and gave an order. How overbearing, how domineering. It's him who's courting death. He's trying to act cool in front of shopkeeper Qian. Damn it. This fellow is going to be finished. I hope that beauty Ling Jian and that beauty Zhang Fengying won't be irrational. Shopkeeper Qian isn't someone that Blood Flow Empire can compare to. To actually dare to scold him, he's simply courting death. The expressions of the surrounding people changed slightly when they saw this scene. The people who were surrounding them retreated once again. "Don't make a move." Wang Xian swept a glance at Zhang Fengying, Ling Jian, Ren Xingqian, and the rest. His gaze was cold. Did he really think that he was easy to bully? Did he really think that his background was invincible and that others wouldn't dare to make a move? A terrifying aura emanated from his body as he slowly took a few steps forward. Miss. The old man from the Heavenly Sword sect was also afraid that Ling Jian would make a move, so he instantly moved to her side. "You reckless bastard, go." "Bastard, how dare you attack Brother Wang Xian? I think you are the one who is courting death. Go." Under the command of Manager Qian, the 2 second-level insightful void martial artists shouted coldly and charged at Wang Xian with their weapons in hand. However, before they could say anything, a furious look came from behind them. Boom, boom, boom. After they finished their words, 3 figures dashed out. 2 middle-aged men and an old man were the 3 strongest people of the Yen clan, the second-level insightful void martial artists. They dashed over without any hesitation and attacked the 2 men with their weapons. The powerful energy hacked forward directly. What? The expressions of the 2 second-level see-through void martial artists who had already rushed out changed drastically. When they saw the energy that was attacking them, their bodies trembled and they immediately deployed their defenses. This is the clan leader and elders of the Yen clan. The Yen clan has gone crazy. They actually dared to attack Manager Qian's men. This is crazy. What is the relationship between the Yen clan and Wang Xian? They actually attacked him directly. When the surrounding people saw the Yen clan's powerhouse who had suddenly charged out, their expressions changed drastically. Could it be that the Yen clan had gone crazy? They actually dared to attack manager Qian's subordinate.
Huh.
Wang Xian, who was about to attack, was slightly stunned. He looked behind him. When he saw He Yuan, who had a cold expression, his eyes flickered and revealed a hint of a smile. At this moment, the surrounding people also realized the voice from earlier. Some of them noticed the young man behind them and quickly turned their heads to look. Arrogant and noble. The first time they saw the young man, these two words appeared in everyone's mind. He was dressed in a purple gown and had his head slightly raised, making him look extremely arrogant. He strolled over and swept a cold glance at Manager Qian. Then, he looked at the 2-second stage profound void martial stage powerhouses who were surrounded by the 3 powerhouses of the Yen clan. Who is he? Is he from the Yen clan? I don't think so. What is his identity? What is his relationship with Wang Xian? Everyone looked at this fair-skinned, handsome, and noble young man with astonishment. At this moment, Manager Qian was staring fixedly at He Yuan. Gradually, a look of fear appeared in his eyes. Brother Wang Xian, is this dog trying to kill you? He Yuan walked towards Wang Xian and came to his side. He turned around and asked Manager Qian directly. How about the people from the 3rd trading company in the world? Can you handle them? Wang Xian looked at him and asked with a smile on his face. Are they from the Qian family? If they are the core disciples of the few factions behind him, I might have to be wary of them. If they dare to provoke Brother Wang Xian, then kill them. He Yuan said to Wang Xian indifferently. All right, I'll make my move then. Wang Xian didn't hesitate at all. After confirming that He Yuan could handle it, he didn't hesitate at all. With a move of his palm, the lightning strike would appeared in his hand. Under everyone's shocked gazes, he placed the lightning strike wood on the ground. Terrifying thorns emerged from under Manager Qian's body in an instant. What you? Manager Qian's expression changed drastically when he saw Wang Xian's sudden attack. He hurriedly wanted to flee into the distance. Humph. He Yuan looked at Manager Qian, who was dodging with disdain. In the next moment, the terrifying thorns covered his entire body. Waves of golden light lit up from his body. The defense of his armor was activated. Extremely hot water sea. Without any hesitation, Wang Xian unleashed his dual attribute combined attack. Don't kill me. No, young master,
No.
Feeling another attack from Wang Xian, Manager Qian's face was filled with shock. He stared at He Yuan and shouted loudly.
Boom.
Just as he finished his sentence, the sound of an explosion was heard. Under the tearing of the thorns, his body sank into the ground. Stunned. Everyone was stunned. Chapter 1306. 1306. The central figure of powerful background. Manager Qian was gone. Under everyone's watchful eyes, he was gone just like that. He was crushed so forcefully that there wasn't even a corpse left. Just now, the invincible Manager Qian, who even the Heaven Sword sect was afraid of, was killed directly. This made everyone feel a little dazed. Their eyes were wide open and filled with shock. When Tang Ling, Tang Feng, Tang Yuan, and the rest saw the scene, they couldn't help but shiver. They looked at Wang Xian with a hint of fear in their eyes. It won't bring you any trouble, right? Wang Xian looked at He Yuan and kept the weapon in his hand into his interspatial ring. There's no trouble. I'll just kill this thing. He Yuan shook his head nonchalantly. You actually dared to kill young Master Qian. The 3 experts of the Yen clan who were at the 2nd level of the see-through realm looked over. Their faces were filled with shock. They looked at Wang Xian and gritted their teeth as they spoke. Oh, that's right. The 2 of you should go back and tell your Qian clan that the bastard of your Qian clan has recklessly provoked my He Yuan's brother. Kill him immediately. If he dares to take revenge, let him come to the He clan. He Yuan looked at the 2 second-rank profound void martial artists and said indifferently, then added, also, don't think about taking revenge. Otherwise, the Qian clan will be the unlucky one. He Yuan's expression was calm and composed. It was as if Manager Qian's death was like stepping on an ant. He didn't care about it at all. Cough, cough, cough. He clan. He Yuan. The 2 second-rank profound void martial experts widened their eyes, and their pupils constricted slightly. The two of them looked at each other, and a trace of fear flashed in their eyes. Young Master He, I'm sorry. The two people's expressions were extremely unsightly, and they bowed to He Yuan. With a wave of their arms, they directly grabbed the spatial ring left behind by shopkeeper Qian after his death. Their bodies moved, and they flew out. When they saw the 2 second-level profound void martial artists leaving, the surrounding people were stunned again. They actually left and even apologized. Oh my God, what is the identity of that young man? Manager Qian, kill him as you wish. That Wang Xian is also very fierce. He didn't hesitate at all. However, what is the identity of that young man called He Yuan? How dare he ignore the Qian family of the 3rd trading company in the world? Another young master with a terrifying identity. One by one, people with powerful forces came to help Wang Xian. Why is Wang Xian's network so terrifying? What is his identity exactly? Everyone around looked at the 2 young men who were chatting. Their eyes were filled with shock. Haha, brother Wang Xian, in the future, be it in the flowing sea region or the vast region, if anyone dares to provoke you, tell me. I will help you. Standing in front of Wang Xian, He Yuan patted his shoulder in a forthright manner. I will remember this favor. Thank you for today. Wang Xian smiled. If He Yuan was not around today, there might be some trouble. It's a small matter. It's only right for friends to help each other. Brother Wang Xian, are these to your female confidants? Awesome, awesome. He Yuan shook his head nonchalantly and said to Zhang Fengying and Ling Jian. Wang Xian shook his head speechlessly. This is Zhang Fengying, my good friend. This is Ling Jian. She is Miss Ling Jian. I heard from Wang Xian that she is your neighbor. From the looks of it now. He Yuan looked at Ling Jian in surprise. But with your strength, brother Wang Xian, you are a perfect match. I think so too. Ling Jian smiled faintly at the side. Her words stunned He Yuan slightly. He then laughed out loud and gave Wang Xian a thumbs up. Awesome, awesome. All right. Why did you suddenly become so talkative? Wang Xian looked at He Yuan speechlessly and said with a smile. Isn't there a beauty beside you? He Yuan chuckled and was very easygoing. He Yuan was a favored son of heaven with a background. Very few people of the same age could get together with him. If it wasn't for the fact that he was stronger than him, he might have ignored Wang Xian at the beginning. However, although he was a little arrogant, he was still a good friend. However, looking at the group of people who were chatting around, everyone couldn't help but swallow their saliva. Everyone present wanted to know what kind of identity He Yuan had. What kind of relationship did Wang Xian have with the mysterious He Yuan? Why were they so familiar with him? Clan leader Yan, may I ask who that young master he is? Tang Feng and Tang Yuan looked at each other. Their faces were filled with fear. They couldn't help but come to the side of clan leader Yan and asked in a low voice. Even they wanted to curry favor with Manager Qian, the person in charge of the 3rd trading company in the world that even the entire blood flow empire feared. He had actually been directly killed, and when the 2 second-stage insightful void realm experts of the World Trading Company heard He Yuan's words, they didn't pursue the matter in the slightest. They even directly left after apologizing. What sort of power was this? Only then could they directly kill Manager Qian without the slightest care and not take it to heart. One of the top powers in the vast region. Clan leader Yin looked at Tang Feng and Tang Yuan's cautious expressions and replied with a faint smile. If they were to make a move today, it would bring great benefits to the Yen clan. In the future, all the powers in the Luhai region would know that they were related to the He clan in the vast region. This made the few people from the Yen clan extremely excited. One of the top forces, Tang Feng and Tang Yuan's pupils constricted slightly. Looking at Wang Xian, who was chatting with He Yuan, their expressions were extremely awkward. Let's go. We'll leave immediately. The two of them didn't hesitate at all. They pulled Tang Ling and walked out quickly. At this moment, Tang Ling didn't dare to say anything. Her eyes were filled with fear as she walked out. Even manager Qian was killed. If Wang Xian relied on that young man to kill her, what could the Bloodshed Empire do? Would they pretend that this didn't happen? The Bloodshed Empire was still far from the peak of strength in the vast region. The Luhai region was just a small third-rate region. As they watched the people of the Bloodshed Empire leave with their tails between their legs, the people around them were slightly dazed. In the end, Tang Ling, Tang Feng, and the rest still left with embarrassed expressions. This time, it wasn't only Ling Jian who embarrassed them. It was also that Wang Xian. Everyone realized that they couldn't provoke that Wang Xian. They definitely couldn't provoke him. Haha. Long Xiaotian, who was standing at the side where Wang Xian, He Yuan, and the rest were, grinned. He was roaring in his heart excitedly. Awesome, awesome. He didn't expect He Yuan's identity to be so terrifying. In fact, he didn't expect any of the things that happened today. It was obvious that the mentor of the Divine Wind Academy, who adored Wang Xian, was an expert at the see-through level. Ling Jian, who confessed to Wang Xian, and He Yuan, who had a terrifying background. Each of their identities were extremely awesome, and their center was Wang Xian. Wang Xian is his brother Long Xiaotian. Chapter 1307. 1307. The Despair of the Prince of the Dragon Dynasty. The thing that Long Xiaotian was most proud of was getting to know Wang Xian, his brother. Looking at the people in front of him who were more powerful than him, he was not the least bit depressed. On the contrary, he was extremely excited. Ling Jian was the daughter of the sect leader of the Heavenly Sword sect. In the future, her position could not even be compared to some princes of the Bloodshed Empire. Now Ling Jian was pursuing Wang Xian. No, she had been rejected twice for pursuing Wang Xian. Dog-licking. Although this term was inappropriate, he was naturally very happy that the woman pursuing his brother was awesome. Not to mention He Yuan. Although he didn't know He Yuan's true background, and He Yuan's attitude towards him wasn't as warm as when he was with Wang Xian, this was enough. Because he was Wang Xian's brother. Wang Xian had once said that he would help him obtain the throne. With his words, it was enough. Long Xiaotian was laughing foolishly. At the side, his brothers looked extremely embarrassed. The few of them sat at a table with embarrassed expressions. Their expressions kept changing. How is this possible? How is this possible? How did he know so many people with powerful backgrounds? Long Xiaoqin and the others' expressions kept changing, and they all looked extremely embarrassed. He had originally wanted to use all sorts of methods to get rid of that young man, but he didn't expect that the other party had a force that was even more powerful than them. In fact, it was an existence that they looked up to. If he killed shopkeeper Qian without the slightest scruple, could he also kill them without the slightest scruple? Especially the 42nd prince. His forehead was covered in cold sweat. He was the one who arranged the seduction incident. Now, he was afraid that he would have to pay a heavy price after everything was exposed. It's okay. There's no need to be afraid. That Wang Xian is second brother's friend. Second brother will not let him attack us. Otherwise, father will have a problem with him. The 16th prince looked at his brothers with a gloomy face and said with a twinkle in his eyes. That's right. He has a good relationship with second brother. He won't do anything harmful to us. Furthermore, all of our subordinates are outside the Heavenly Sword Sex Island. Now, second brother's influence is still not our match. We don't have to be afraid. As Long Xiaoqian spoke, his eyes revealed a helpless look. Now, the five of them had to work together to be able to deal with Long Xiaotian. What would they do in the future? When they truly inherited the crown prince's position and inherited the throne, they would be comparing their individual strength. It wasn't the time for them to work together. When that time came, what would they use to compare with Long Xiaotian? This caused their faces to reveal a bitter expression. There are still 7 months left. It's a bit too early to give up now. No one knows who will gain the power in the next 7 months. Humph. The 36th prince let out a cold snort, his eyes filled with an intense desire. That's right, there are still 7 months left. During this period, I don't believe that we cannot defeat second brother. Their eyes were filled with fighting spirit as they slowly raised their wine cups and toasted each other. There were still 7 months left. Goddess Ling Jian Young Master Wang, Young Master He, Second Prince. In the center of the venue, people from various powers walked towards them in an attempt to curry favor with them. However, other than Long Xiaotian's warm hospitality towards the people around him, He Yuan ignored them. Ling Jian only nodded her head indifferently and didn't pay too much attention to them. I will be returning to the Heavenly Sword sect tomorrow. Where can I find you in the future? Ling Jian looked at Wang Xian and asked him directly. Go to the Dragon and Phoenix Empire. You will be able to find me there. Wang Xian smiled at her. Ling Jian nodded her head silently. Oh right, brother Wang Xian, I might be returning in a few days. When are you going to the vast region to play? Come and look for me there. The vast area is much bigger than the flowing sea area. It's also much more fun than here. He Yuan, who was at the side, said with a smile. I will go to the vast area. In 3 to 5 years at most, I will come and look for you. Wang Xian smiled and looked at He Yuan. He would go to the vast area. He was not the only one. When the time came, he would bring along the Dragon Palace and the Divine Dragon Clan, as well as the Dragon Phoenix Empire. When the time came, they would descend to the vast region in a powerful manner. The few of them chatted for more than an hour. At this moment, Long Xiaotian, who was standing at the side, suddenly took out his communication stone plate. When he saw the contents on it, his eyes flickered. He looked at Wang Xian, who was chatting with Zhang Fengying. After a moment of hesitation, he walked over. Brother Wang Xian, I've received news. As Long Xiaotian spoke, he handed over the communication stone plate in his hand for him to take a look. Is it outside? All right, get your men to prepare. I'll help you clear all the obstacles today. Wang Xian said with a smile. The framing today was definitely done by Long Xiaotian's brothers. The assassins from a few days ago were also hired by them. If Wang Xian didn't make them experience despair, they would really think that they were easy to bully. All right, I'll contact them immediately. I'll give them a big gift today. Long Xiaotian's eyes sparkled as a hint of excitement appeared on his face. Fengying, do me a favor. Wang Xian looked at Zhang Fengying at the side and asked her to help him get his 2 ferocious beasts over. Zhang Fengying nodded her head. Earlier, Wang Xian had already decided to let her leave the Divine Wind Academy. She hesitated for a moment before agreeing to it. As for what to do next, naturally, she would be with Wang Xian and leave this place when the time was right. Wang Xian gave her a drop of his blood. With Zhang Fengying's beast-taming ability, she could definitely bring Ling Zilin and the rest over. Zhang Fengying left while Ling Jian stayed by Wang Xian's side for 2 hours. After that, she left and gave a simple greeting to the surrounding forces. Brother Wang Xian, my men are ready. My brothers are leaving. Night had arrived. Long Xiaotian walked to his side and said softly, Let's go. Let's go out with them. Wang Xian nodded his head faintly and walked out. All right, let's go. He Yuan had already left ahead of time. There were also some people who left in the entire venue. Wang Xian and Long Xiaotian walked out with smiles on their faces. Brothers, I advise you to return to the Imperial City. You are no match for me. Long Xiaotian looked at Long Xiaochen and the rest who were walking in front and said provocatively, "Humph." The 5 princes paused and turned their heads with cold expressions. Don't think that you can be so arrogant with the help of the people around you. Let me tell you, there's still 7 months left. It's uncertain who will win and who will lose. But we can guarantee that you will be very miserable. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.